Hey guys, Serendi here. This is part 2 of What If Bell Cranel was Heroic Spirit Summoner. Hit like and subscribe, and also don't forget to check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 6, New Legend. Come morning, Castor was gone as usual. He's probably meeting with a real estate agent or something, Archer pointed out. Or gone to pick up Lady Hestia. She said she would be back by today, right? Oh, that's right, Bell said with a nod. Should we go wait for them at Babel first? She might not even be there, Archer said. Besides. He placed a hand on the tiny Lily's head, who wriggled a bit under it. Today is Lily's day after all. Master Archer, that tickles, Lily said, having used her magic to turn back into a Chianthrope to add another layer of disguise. I guess you're right, Bell said with a laugh. Come on, let's go. Yes, Lily nodded. Lily will be happy to see the afternoon sun again after 2 days. Sorry about that, Archer said with a wry smile as they climbed the staircase. Lily understands. It is to keep Lily safe after all. But it smelled of men the entire time Lily was in there. I'm sorry, Belle apologized with a small laugh. They exited the church and Lily stretched her arms out, taking in the open morning air after a long while. Monsterphilia is a big festival, Lily explained as they walked down the street. The entire city gets into it and lots of stands pop up to sell food and souvenirs. But the main attraction is in the stadium. There, Ganesha Familia puts on a show to tame monsters. Taming monsters? Belle asked. Is that even possible? Yes, Lily nodded. But Lily heard that it is very difficult and you need the tamer skill to do so. Ganesha family have a lot of tamers and monsters that they use to help fight in the dungeon and other places too. Heh, that sounds amazing. And the stadium is where they do it in front of an audience? Archer asked. Yes, Lily nodded. Lily never had the chance to see it herself, but she has heard that it is very popular even though monsters are dangerous and scary. I see, Archer nodded. It's like a circus attraction. Yes, I kinda want to see it, Belle said with a smile. How about we make our way there? Since neither of the other two had any concrete plans either way, they agreed. Even though it was still early, the streets were already crowded and filled with both tourists and locals, with everyone scrambling to buy things from the various stands around them. Archer, being the tallest and strongest of the three, kept his hands on both of them as they pushed their way through the crowd. He kept Lily as close to him as possible as she was invisible to practically everyone around them. The ring really works, Lily said after she had jumped around and made faces in front of the owner of a potato puff stand while Archer was buying from him. Lily admits she was skeptical, but don't let Castor hear you say that or he'd be really mad, Belle said seriously as Lily nodded her head quickly. Still, it's going to take some time making our way through this crowd, Archer noted, a bag of potato puffs in his arm while using a free hand to snack on one himself. Did people stay up all night to get seats, I wonder? Do not worry, Master Archer, Lily said as she reached into the bag for a potato puff when he offered it to her. The taming events go on all day and well into the night. We will have plenty of opportunity to watch it. That's good, Belle said with a smile. I would really hate to miss it. Belle suddenly turned his head to the side just as Archer did when Beel, a tiny white-clothed goddess, jumped out from an alleyway and into Belle's arms. Dawa? Goddess? Ah, Belle, it's been so long since I've seen you, Hestia said as she hugged him tightly, pressing her body against him. It makes all that work worth it in the end. This is Goddess Hestia? Lily asked, looking up at Archer, who had a rather complicated smile on his face. Ah. Who is this? Hestia asked, noticing Lily after peeking around Belle and looking directly at Lily, confirming Castor's prediction that the ring's effect was useless in front of a god. Ah, pleased to meet you, Lady Hestia, Lily greeted with a bow. I am Lilaruka Arde. Lily joined us as a supporter in the dungeon, Belle explained, but she got caught up in some trouble, so Castor is helping her out by hiding her with us for the time being. Castor, Hestia repeated. Castor, our Castor? Mr. High and Mighty and Arrogant with a stick up his butt, King Castor. Yes, Belle nodded with a wry smile, unsure whether he should laugh or not. Does that mean you're someone special to him, or does it mean that you got big problems tagging along? Hestia said as she released Belle and examined Lily. Definitely the second Lady Hestia, Lily replied seriously. Hestia let out another hum as she looked around. Then, let's stop by over at that park, so you can tell me the details. Though it was called a park, there wasn't much greenery around it. Just a large fountain and a few trees and benches. It was the perfect place for people to relax or meet up with each other. Hestia, Lily and Bell sat on one of the benches, while Archer stood behind them with his back resting against the back of the bench, as Bell and Lily explained what was going on. Soma huh. Hestia sighed. I never really talked to him much, but when I was living with Hephaestos I overheard her children complain about his familia a lot. Yes, they are most likely all true, Lily nodded. That's why Lily wants to leave. Lily can't take it there anymore. Well, it sounds like Castor put a lot of effort into this already, Hestia said. So you boys keep at it. I don't want all of your work to be for nothing. Thank you very much, goddess, Bell said, bowing to her in gratitude, to which Lily followed up. No worries, but Miss Supporter. Yes, Goddess Hestia? Lily asked. I really would like it if you joined our familia after you leave Soma's, Hestia said with a smile. After all, only an idiot would go after you again with Castor looking over your shoulder. Right? Yes, Lily thinks so too, Lily said with a smile. Behind them, Archer had a smile on his face, glad that things were going well before he suddenly pushed himself off the bench, his body completely tensed. Archer, Hestia asked as Bell also looked around. Bell? What's wrong? I thought I heard a scream, Bell replied. No sooner did he say that did someone shout out, monster. At that moment, there was a crash as several stands and crates were smashed, revealing a four-legged monster with massive antlers that were sharp as blades. A sword stag? Lily gasped just as Archer launched himself forward without a second though. Archer? Bell shouted after him as a pair of blades appeared in Archer's hands. The blades shot forward like arrows and planted themselves in the ground where the chains that were probably keeping the monster secure was lying. The blades locked the chains into place just as it tried to jump, causing it to fall back onto the ground with a loud crash. Taking the opportunity, Archer landed by the beast's side and a large two-handed sword appeared in his hands which he brought down on the beast's neck, severing it clean from the rest of its body. Wow! Lily said as the crowd began cheering. Lily knew Master Archer was strong, but Bell nodded, his eyes shining in awe at Archer as he dismissed his blades and looked at the city. A fire inside Bell renewed its heat. He wanted to be of use to this person. He wanted to be someone that can stand beside this person. He wanted to be a hero like this person. Master, Archer said, catching Bell's attention. It sounds like there are more that have escaped into the city. I want to go help, but don't worry, Bell nodded. There was no way he was going to keep a hero from saving people. Go after them. I'll get Lily and Goddess to safety. Sorry and thanks, Archer nodded before he leaped up from the street onto a nearby building and started making his way to the source of the commotion. We should get out of here, Bell said as he took Lily and Hestia by their hands. Yes, Lily nodded. Lily isn't sure if the ring protects Lily-form monsters, but Lily has no desire to check right now. Ah, Bell is holding my hand, Hestia said happily as he pulled the two of them down the street. Now is not the time for that, Lily retorted. No sooner did she say that than another monster crashed down just in front of them. This one was much larger and bulkier than the sword stag from before. It stood on two legs but used its massive arms to support its equally massive body. Silverback? Lily breathed, tears forming in her eyes. People around them were screaming and running away as the silverback roared. Master Bell, that monster is from the 11th floor. We have to run. All right. Bell nodded before leading the other two the opposite way. There was another crash and Bell took the chance to look behind him only to pale. It's chasing us. Lily and Hestia turned around to look as well, only to scream as the monster was slowly gaining on them. Bell looked back and forth between the two of them before making a decision. Sorry, you too, he shouted as he scooped Hestia with his left arm and Lily in his right, causing both of them to squeal in shock, and ran as fast as he could down the street, holding Hestia over his shoulder like a sack while keeping grip on Lily under his arm like a stack of books. This isn't romantic at all, Hestia shouted only to scream when she saw the silverback leap over them and cut them off. Master Bell, turn left, Lily shouted, pointing at an alley. Bell did, and they slipped into the alley just as the silverback crashed into the walls behind them, its body being too big to fit into it. Wahahaha, Hestia cried as they ran through the alley. Where is Castor when you need him? Master Bell, watch out. Lily's call came a bit too late. Just as they were about to reach an exit, a large chain slammed the area in front of Bell. Thankfully, it didn't hit any of them, but the force sent Bell flying and made him lose his grip on Lily. Lily! Bell screamed as she landed right in front of the silverback. Lily looked up at the monster in fear before curling up and praying that it wouldn't be too painful, only for the blow to never come. Instead, the monster sniffed at her once before ignoring her completely and leaped after Hestia and Bell. Lily is not dead? Lily asked herself, completely amazed. Lily didn't want to die? She then looked down at her hands. Did the ring work and save her? Or did it just not care about her? There was a scream and Lily looked up. Master Bell, run! Lily called out as the monster landed in front of them, but Bell managed to run around it before it could swipe at him. I can't just leave you, he shouted back. Lily will be fine, she said. It's ignoring Lily. Just run. Bell shot her a pained look before taking off, with the silverback hot on his tail. Lily tried to stand up, but a sharp pain in her leg forced her back down onto the ground. Looking down, she saw that her ankle was a bit swollen. Lily reached inside her cloak and pulled out a small potion from her pocket. Draining it quickly, she felt the pain in her leg vanish as she stood back up, using the wall for support. What should Lily do? What should Lily do? Should she try to find Castor? But she had no idea where he was. Should she try to chase after Bell and Hestia? But then what could she do to help when she didn't have any weapons? Useless, she screamed as she pounded her hand against the wall. Lily is always useless. The Hestia Familia was doing their best to keep her safe and help her, and she couldn't do anything. Bell had said that Castor and Archer were spirits that had contracted with him. If Bell were to get killed, what would happen to them? Would they disappear? Lily couldn't let that happen. Not just for her own sake, but the goddess's sake too. Lily needs to do something. Good words. Huh. Lily turned around and felt a hand on her head. Standing behind her was Castor, wearing an approving smile as he picked her up in one arm. Lord Castor, Lily said, relief and happiness filling her body. Hurry. Master Bell and Lady Hestia are in danger. Do not worry about them, are they? Castor said as he picked her up in one arm and leaped up onto the rooftops. They will be fine, or the name of Hephaestos will no longer be worth anything. What do you mean? Lily asked as Castor hopped from roof to roof with surprising grace. Do you want to see it, Arde? Castor asked, a rather feral smile appearing on his face. The first steps of a new hero? Standing on one of the tall columns that lined the city as lookout points, Archer held a black bow in his hands alongside an equally pitch-black coiled sword. In his eyes, he saw several monsters wandering around near the stadium, although he had no idea what they were. Nonetheless, he knocked the sword in his bow and the blade coiled up even more. Before he could shoot it though, a gold and green blur swept across the monsters and blood spilled out of them. That's the Sword Princess, he muttered as he relaxed his stance. Pretty fast. So that's a level 5 then. Seeing as that area was taken care of, he looked around for other targets. Was that all of them? He wondered only to spin around as a cloud of smoke and rubble erupted in the distance. Damn! Leaping off his perch, he hopped from rooftop to rooftop until he could get a look at what was going on. There, he saw a pair of dark-skinned women, Amazons, punching down a strange green monster that was sprouting from the ground only to jump back and shake their hands in pain. It seemed as though its hide was rather strong. There was a third girl standing a bit further away, her arms held out toward the monster as the Amazons were distracting it. A mage of some sorts? Suddenly, the monster turned its head toward the mage and the next instant, another green monster sprouted up and stabbed her in the side, sending he flying in the air. Archer clicked his tongue as he bursted forward, catching the girl as she fell out of the air and landing hard on some crates. Oi, are you all right? He asked, but the girl looked like she was just barely keeping conscious. Hey, who are you? One of the Amazons shouted at him only for the ground to rumble as the head of the monster opened up, revealing a large flower with many, many teeth. Did it bloom? The Amazon dressed in red gasped. It was a flower, not a snake? The yellow-dressed Amazon shouted. Hey you, get Lafia out of there. Archer nodded as he jumped away from the plant monster to land on a roof, only for the roof to explode open and reveal another plant monster. Damn! Archer grunted as 2 more monsters sprouted beside it. Then, he felt himself be blasted out of the air away from the flower heads. Bringing the girl closer to his chest, he managed to land on a different roof just as the Sword Princess landed in front of him. Sorry, Archer said. Thanks for the save. It's fine, she replied. Thank you for protecting Lafia. Ace, the girl, who Archer realized was an elf, managed to croak out. Please look after her, Ace said as she jumped back into the fray. Wait, Archer called out. That sword is dash. But before he could finish, Ace struck one of the plant monsters and severed its head, only for the sword to shatter as well. Damn! Archer cursed again as several vines like the one that struck Lafia started sprouting all around the street. It was clear to Archer that that wasn't a sword the Sword Princess was used to using. He carefully set Lafia down on the roof and stood in front of her as he watched the 3 women struggle against the plants without any weapons. Blunt attacks aren't working, he muttered as he noted as the Amazon's attacks were not doing anything. Even a magic-powered strike with the pommel of the blade didn't do anything more than knock it down for a moment before it went right back to chasing her, completely ignoring Archer, Lafia, and the 2 Amazons. I get it, the red Amazon shouted. Ace, it's attracted to your magic. Once the Amazon said that, Ace started pulling away from the roof Archer and Lafia were on, only to end up in the same area as Archer noticed just a bit before Ace did, and he reinforced his body and launched himself off the roof. He reached his target just before Ace did and held his hand out in the direction of the incoming woman and monster plant. The moment Ace slipped past his hand, he poured his magic out. The 7 rings that cover the fiery heavens. RHOIS. A large shield made from magic energy formed in front of his hand, taking the shape of a pink flower that shot out 6 rings of pure light in front of it. The plant monsters crashed into the ring and were sent flying back as Archer felt a sharp pain run through his arm. Behind him he saw Ace grab a Chianthrope child that had been cowering behind a crate and leap to safety, prompting him to do the same. Sword Princess! Archer shouted as he channeled his energy in his hand and formed an exact copy of the sword she had been using. Trade! He threw the blade at her as she released her grip on the girl, allowing Archer to grab her before she started falling. Archer landed with the girl in his arms and looked down at her with a smile while she glanced at him with tears in her eyes. Are you okay? He asked, and she timidly nodded her head. That's good. There was a flash of light shining from the monster, and when it died down, it was suddenly encased in ice. Ah! And I ran all the way here for nothing, came a voice beside him. Archer turned around and found the goddess Loki standing there, leaning on a wall for support with one hand and a blade in the other. Goddess Loki, Archer said as Loki smiled at him. Sup, hero? Loki greeted with a cheerful smile as the Amazons shattered half the monster with a powerful combined kick, while Ace destroyed the rest with the sword Archer gave her. I see. So that's your familia, Archer said as he set the girl down and placed a hand on her head. Yeppers? Want to meet them properly? Loki asked. Mr. Archer. Archer turned around and saw Ina running up to them. Ina Tool. What are you doing here? She asked before looking down and seeing the girl. Oh dear, are you okay? Are you hurt? I'm fine, she said, clinging onto Archer's leg. Looks like you got a fan, Red Man, Loki said, elbowing Archer in the side. Hey Miss Gildy, think you can look after the kid? I want to talk to this guy for a bit. Of course, Lady Loki. Ina nodded as she crouched down to the girl. Come on. I'll help you find your parents. With the child taken care of, Archer was dragged by Loki to the other girls. Once they were there, Archer noticed that the elf girl from earlier, Lafia, was up on her feet despite her wound. It seems like she was the one who casted the spell from earlier. Before anyone could say anything, Archer quickly lowered his head in a bow to Lafia. My apologies, he said to everyone's surprise. I heard from one of my seniors that elves did not like being touched by strangers. And no, it's okay, Lafia said quickly. You helped me after all. Yeah, no need to worry about things like that when people are in danger, the Amazon in yellow said, patting Archer on the back. You're pretty quick on your feet, aren't you? What's your name and what familia are you from? I go by Archer, Archer replied before glancing at Loki, who cocked a brow in confusion. And I'm not sure if I should say the name of my familia in front of your goddess. Why not? Loki asked before blinking a bit. Wait. Don't tell me. You're from that chibi Hestia's familia too? Yes. Gah. First Goldie, then this one too? Loki shouted as the other stared at her in confusion before Ace walked over and held out the sword to Archer. Thank you, she said. It was helpful. No problem, he said as he reached out for it and took it from her before it dissolved in his hands. Loki and her familia members froze as the particles of magic slowly drifted to the ground before Ace started shaking and her eyes turned rather dull in fear and worry. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I'll pay you back for it. Pay? Archer repeated before he held a hand to his mouth in a laugh. No, don't worry about it. But that looked just like Ace's other sword, the yellow Amazon said. Wasn't it worth 40 mil dash? But she was quickly quieted by the other Amazon who slapped her hand over her mouth. No, really, it's fine, Archer said as he held his hands out again and projected 2 more identical copies of the same sword. They're actually just cheap throwaway copies that I can create in an instant. Wait, so you can just make swords whenever you want? The yellow Amazon asked, pulling the hand off her mouth. Yes, Archer nodded as the blades vanished as well. She stared at him for another second before jumping away from the other Amazon and planting herself right in front of Archer before grabbing his hands and shaking them. Hi, I'm Tiona. Let's be friends, she said, introducing herself to him. Ha! Archer looked at the Amazon in confusion. Okay. Great. And since we're now friends, let me show you my Urga and see if you can't make me copies of that too. Bafwa. She was stopped as the other Amazon chopped her on the head. Don't bother him like that, she said with a sigh. I'm Tioni Hiriot, this idiot's sister. Ace Wallenstein, Ace said. Looking slightly relieved, she didn't have to pay 40 million valis and putting herself further into debt. She then leaned in a bit closer to him. Yes. No, never mind. It's nothing. And I'm Lafia Voridis. Thank you again for helping me. The elf girl said with a bow. No. I'm sorry I couldn't do anything before you got hurt, Archer said as he scratched his head. No worries, she'll be fine after a little rest, Loki said as she slapped his back. No need to be so hard on yourself. Not like we've ever seen these things up here before. By the way, did you girls get them all? No, Ace said, shaking her head. I didn't see a silverback. That's no good, Loki said as she tossed Ace the blade she was holding. Go find it before something else happens. Yes. And with that, she took off. Now then, tall, dark and swordy, Loki began, leaning on his arm. First it was Castor and now Archer, but those aren't your real names, right? This some sort of play that Hestia's got you doing. It is not, Archer replied. Heh, so you're just following a theme yourself then? Well, I want to thank you for helping my girls out. Want to come visit us for a bit? You can bring Goldie along with you. I do not think Lady Hestia will let us, Archer said honestly. Oh, come on. It's not like I'm after your inbuilt sword printing press or Goldie's wine. Archer and the girls stared at Loki with suspicious eyes. What? I'm not. Honest. Scout's honor. I'm afraid I will have to decline, Archer said. I need to make sure my familia members are safe. He then turned to the others. Stay safe, ladies. Then, reinforcing his legs once more, Archer leaped up to the rooftops and made his way back toward the area where he left the others. And there he goes, Loki said with a sigh. Come on, guys. Why didn't you back me up? Well, I kinda wanted to, but Tiona admitted before flinching from her sister as she raised her hand up again. I don't think it would be right to try and take him from his familia right after he helped us, Lafia said just as Ina came running back. Huh? Mr. Archer already left? Ina asked. Yeah, said he was looking for his other familia members, Loki said. I see, Ina said. Thank you for looking after him. He must have been in over his head. Not really, Tiona said. He was really calm and knew what he was doing except for that one part where more flower heads popped up. He even backed up Ace. Huh? Ina was confused. Aren't you giving him a bit too much credit? He's only a level 1 that hasn't even been an adventurer for a week yet. Eh? Eh? The sisters and Lafia gaped at Ina in surprise only for the guild worker to gape back at them. No, see. They were just surprised to see him save that girl so easily, Loki said, slipping in between them. They thought he had a little more experience under his belt than that. Guess he's just a natural-born hero or something. I see, Ina said with a nod. He certainly is as reliable as he looks, isn't he? Then I'll be taking my leave now, Lady Loki. Sure thing. Don't overwork yourself. Hey, Loki, Tiona began as Ina ran off. Was she telling the truth? That Archer guy really is only a level 1. At the very least she believes it, Loki said with a smile. That chibi ain't the type to lie about something like levels either. At least not without getting busted right away. But that movement and his creating swords and that wall of light he put up in front of Ace, Lafia said. There's no way he can just be a level 1. Girls, what did you see when you saw him? Loki asked. The three of them looked at each other before answering. A human male? Lafia asked. One who tries to help people? Someone that laughs things off easily? Tiona added. And is harsh on himself? Tioni finished. Probably, Loki shrugged. But are you absolutely sure about that first part, Lafia? Eh? Lafia blinked. But what else could he be? What indeed? Loki asked with a smile. Back over on the other side of the city, Castor and Lily were perched on a rooftop as Lily was looking down at the ground with awe. Having watched Hestia quickly update Bell's status and then have him charge the silverback with a new knife in hand. Amazing, she said as the people hiding in the houses started to cheer. Master Bell just defeated that silverback in one hit. Of course he did, Castor said with a smile as Hestia ran toward Bell. Monsters die in one blow if you destroy the crystal, do they not? Still. Master Bell is just a newbie, right? Lily insisted. That's not something anyone can just pull off. Exactly, Castor said, leaning in closer to Lily before backing off. Come. Lily grabbed onto Castor and the two hopped down just as Archer landed down beside Bell as well. You're late, mongrel, Castor said. Considering I just came from the opposite end of town, I'd say I made great time, Archer insisted. Ah, geez. Stop fighting, you two, Hestia shouted as she helped Bell sit up. Grab Bell and let's go home. Sorry, Bell said as Archer picked him up on his back. I'm feeling really tired right now, and I left all my potions at home. Master Bell, Please remember to always carry at least 2 potions with you even when doing things like shopping, Lily said as she walked beside them while Hestia walked in front and Castor took the rear. Yeah, I'll remember that, he muttered. Rest now, Bell Cranel, Castor said. You have the king's blessing. Leave the rest to your familia. Yes, thank you very much. And with that, Bell fell asleep, letting out light snores on Archer's back. Hurrying through the city, the 5 of them made their way back to the church where Archer placed Bell on the bed on Hestia's orders. Now then, Hestia said as she sat down on the bed next to Bell and Castor on the couch as usual with Archer against the wall and Lily on the floor next to Castor. What did you 2 learn? On the far side of town a strange species of monster appeared, Archer reported. It wasn't one anything Ina mentioned in her lessons. Some kind of plant monster. It was resistant to physical attacks but magic and cutting attacks were effective. It also dropped this. Archer pushed himself off the wall and placed a magic stone on the table. Instead of the usual purple color that all the other stones they had collected so far had, it was a strange yellow color that was almost like a rainbow. Are they? Castor asked, but Lily shook her head. Lily has never seen a stone like this before, she replied. We should probably ask the guild about it, but Hestia began before looking away. I feel like we'll be getting involved in something too dangerous if we do. On the other hand, Hestia scratched her head violently and shook her upper body around for a moment before stopping. Let's put it off, she declared, causing Lily to thump her head on the table, for Archer's knees to buckle slightly and for Castor to sink a bit deeper in the couch. So, what about you, Castor? I went and investigated the cages where the monsters were let loose, Castor said, placing his gauntlet hand in front of his face. From what the Ganesha guards believe, it seems as though the guards on standby were drugged with something before the culprit released the monsters to cause a ruckus. However, his hand then fell onto his face and Lily suddenly felt all the hair on her body stand on end. There was no drug used on those guards. Castor spoke in a low voice to the point of a growl. There was a sickeningly sweet stench that lingered all over those cages. The stench of a goddess of love. Wait, you're saying that a goddess released those monsters? Hestia asked. The monsters, while a menace, completely ignored the unconscious Ganesha familia members that were lying around defenseless due to being charmed by the goddess. The goddess then used that same charm to bewitch the monsters into looking for something. Castor then lowered his hand and turned his eyes toward Hestia, who shook in surprise. Come to think of it, both the sword stag and the silverback only attacked when you were near it, Lily pointed out. But why would someone want to attack Lady Hestia? Are there any gods or goddesses that you aren't on good terms with? Archer asked. Aside from Loki, I mean? Hestia folded her arms and tried to think. I don't know. I really only ever talked with my friends up in Tenkai, and I don't really mingle with any other gods down here. I don't think I ever did anything for anyone to hate me that they would send a silverback after me. Perhaps it wasn't Lady Hestia specifically, but rather any goddess in the area? Archer suggested. Lady Hestia just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time? That is a possibility, Castor admitted as his frown deepened. Did you have another idea, Lord Castor? Lily asked. No, Castor said after a long pause. I do not. Well, let's send a complaint to the guild about that anyway, Hestia said. See if I can't get any compensation for being chased all across Deadless Street by a monster from them or Ganesha. Anyway, is there anything else? Well, Archer spoke up. There is one little thing. In my fight against the plant monsters, I cooperated with Loki Familia. The goddess herself invited me and Castor over to give her thanks. Me? Castor asked as Hestia started shaking. She's after that, I see. No way in hell, Hestia shouted, causing Bell to jerk awake. Who-wah? Bell groaned as he looked around. Oh, I'm back home. Moving on, Castor sighed as he sat up. I also have news. I received a notice from the guild. A site for our new familia home has been picked. We can finally leave this wretched place. Yes, Hestia cheered as she jumped up. Finally a real house to live in. But it's still kind of sad, thinking of leaving this place. I can see why, Archer said. This was Bell's and your first home together after all. Yeah. It was only 3 weeks, but I think I'll miss this place, Bell admitted. We will examine the place tomorrow, Castor said as he turned to Lily. Afterward we will settle Arde's debt with Soma. In the meantime, you shall move in with us as well. Lily gasped. Is it really okay? I am not one to do things half-heartedly, Castor said. At this close to the end, the amount of things that can go wrong increases exponentially. Having you within sight of Archer or myself decreases the chance of failure. And I refuse to fail when I have sunk so many resources into this. Lily apologies. Lily said, her dog ears drooping slightly. If you wish to show your gratitude, then you must live out the life you choose afterward to the fullest. You are still a child. A child should face everything around them with their eyes full of wonder. Like that fool over there. That's mean, your majesty. Belle protested. I'm not that much of a country bumpkin. I never called you that. Castor muttered before turning back to Lily. You are to decide your own path. This is the king's gift to you. Until you can firmly place both feet on the ground and move forward, you may live alongside us. Once you can take the first step with confidence, then you can move forward wherever you wish with my blessing. Onward, to a new adventure. Yes. Answering the wise king's words were two different voices, brimming with life, youth, and determination. Chapter 7, Strength Within. This will be our home from now on? Belle asked. It was the morning after the disastrous monsterphilia. Waking up early, Hestia and her familia plus Lily arrived at the building designated by the guild. It was a large cottage with 4 floors and a steel fence surrounding it. It wasn't designed with defending against a siege in mind, but more for a middle-rank familia to live comfortably. It contained 10 bedrooms and 2 large office areas spread across the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, and 1 large communal bath on the 1st floor and a large kitchen connected to a dining area. There was also a small yard between the fence and the building proper. As a special feature, several of the rooms were connected by a series of speaking tubes in order to quickly communicate and send announcements throughout the house. So they say, Castor said, looking away from the description on the side of the building. Goddess Hestia and I will claim the rooms closest to the offices. The 3 of you can decide on the rest. I get my own office, Hestia said happily with stars in her eyes. So you're the ones who made the order? Elderly voice called out. An old man with a thin yet muscular body came out from inside the house. Oh, Goibniu, Hestia called out. Thanks for the hard work. It really is Hestia, the old god said with disbelief. Last I heard you were living in an abandoned basement. To think you'd be moving up in the world so quickly. Hoo-hoo, it's because my boys are amazing, Hestia bragged, throwing her chest out as Belle bowed toward the smith god. Well, they're rich at least, Goibniu muttered. Everything should be as you requested. If you need something tweaked or changed, let me know and we'll redo it. Your fast work is appreciated, God Goibniu, Castor said. Has the guild finalized the payment? Indeed. Every last Valis was transferred last night, just as we finished. Between you and me, you're much better customers than a certain stupid Amazon. Would you happen to be talking about Tiona Hiriot? Archer asked. That's right, Goibniu sighed. She's always making my smiths cry from breaking that weapon of hers and always tries to put it on her tab. All 120 million Valis. Then again, an adventurer isn't doing their job properly if they don't make their smiths cry. Belle and Lily let out a strangled cough at the absurd amount as the old god left, having confirmed that the job was done. So I'm worth that much to her, huh? Archer mumbled wryly before leading the 2 kids inside. Once inside, the 5 of them spent time exploring the new home, checking things like whether or not the lights would turn on or if any of the wooden boards would break without warning. It looks like all the rooms aside from the rooms with a connected office are the same size with the same furnishings, Archer noted when they reconvened in the dining area with him behind the kitchen counter preparing a meal. So who is getting which office? Castor, you take the bigger office, Hestia said immediately to Castor's slight surprise. I don't really have anything to work on since I'll probably end up leaving most things to you anyway. I'll take the smaller one and turn it into a library or something. Very well, Castor nodded. I shall put it to good use. Thank you, my obstinate child. Do not call me that again. Hestia simply giggled as Castor turned his head away. By the way, Castor, Belle spoke up, since we got a new place, do you think I can try calling another one? Another servant. Castor raised a brow at Belle speaking about it so openly as he turned toward Lily, who met his eyes once before glancing to the side. I see. So you told her, huh? Castor said with a sigh. Well, no matter. However, my answer shall be no. No good, huh? Belle asked with a sigh. Naive, he said. Even though your magic status is growing far faster than your other status, it is still too early to consider it. Not only do you use your magic to anchor us to this world, you use it to fuel our prowess in battle. It is the second reason why I have had you fight alone most of the time with little assistance. If an enemy that was strong enough to force Archer into a serious fight, your body will become a corpse in a second if you had to sustain 3 servants at once. Do not ask me again until you level up, mongrel. Yes, Belle nodded, looking determined rather than let down at the refusal. Another spirit, huh? Lily said. Lily wonders what they will be like. I just hope they agree to join the familia, Hestia muttered. I don't know what I'd do if another one like Castor shows up. I'm sitting right here, you goddess in debt. Castor growled, causing Hestia to freeze up a bit. Goddess in debt, Bell repeated. Just how many of my treasures do you think I had to trade in for that knife of yours, mongrel? Castor said irritably as Hestia crawled on her hands and knees toward Castor, begging for his forgiveness. As such, this useless goddess will be working until she pays it back. How much was it? Archer asked, slightly fearing the answer. Valis. Hestia spoke in a voice that couldn't even be called a whisper. Although Bell couldn't hear it, Lily, with her heightened hearing thanks to her magical disguise, and Archer, who was a servant, froze. Bell, feeling extremely worried since the number was enough to make even Archer freeze, decided to ask again. Goddess, he began, face turning blue as sweat started pouring out from his hands, and the knife he was carrying suddenly felt immensely heavy. How much was it? 200 million. Yeah. As always, just an immature brat, Castor huffed. Well, it's not a loan I expect to see repaid for a few generations anyway. My investment has already begun to show its return anyway. I'll pay you back, Hestia cried as she clung to Castor's leg. Promise. Just don't bully Bell too much. Castor simply shook the goddess off as she fell pathetically to the floor. Arde, he said, and Lily snapped back to attention. I will now tell you the plan to release you from Soma Familia. Why yes. Lily nodded with a gulp. Then, without warning, several large bags of Valis landed in front of her. Lord Castor. This is, Lily said, her body shaking at the sight in front of her. 10 million Valis, Castor said, leaning back slightly, and yet it made his voice sound so far away from Lily. This is my investment in you. You will take it and deliver it to your god directly and ask to leave the Familia. If he refuses, ask for a drink of Soma. The true Soma, not one of those failures. Once you drink it, steal your mind, keep your soul and ask. Nay. Demand once again to leave the Familia. If you fail this, it is likely we will never meet again. Castor stood up from the table and walked around to where Lily was sitting, still petrified, and leaned in close to whisper into her ear. Do not disappoint me, Lilaruka Arde. One moment he's giving you an inspirational talk and the next day he's throwing you to your doom, Archer said with a wry smile as he continued cooking. Such is the fate of one who is an interest to the wise king of heroes. Master Archer, please save Lily. She begged, but Archer could only give her a sad face. Sorry, but it is out of my hands. Archer, Castor said, looking rather annoyed at being talked about as if he wasn't there again. You are to go with her. Make sure she and the money reach the god properly. If something goes wrong. Archer and Lily stared as Castor gave the order, and Lily couldn't help but feel the dread creep up on her back. After lunch, Bell still hadn't woken up from his fainting spell, so Archer and Lily left first. As Lily was still wearing Castor's ring, they had to move carefully as to not bump into anyone and leave them confused. Will Lily be okay? She wonders. Lily mumbled as Archer placed a hand on her head. Don't worry, you'll be fine, Archer said. You drank both the king's wine and that failed Soma wine with no problems. There's no way you'll lose to the real thing. Lily feels that if she fails, she will not live to regret it after drinking Lord Castor's wine as well. She admitted. If you think you'll fail, then you've already lost, Archer said, thumping her on the head. Is this the place? Yes. Lily nodded as her face changed from one of fear and dread to pure loathing and disgust. Lily feels like she would rather spit on Lord Castor's shoes than step in here again. Death would be better, huh? Archer sighed. I'll be keeping watch from outside. If anything happens, I'll know right away and enact Plan B. Yes. Be careful, okay? Yes. Lily nodded again before grabbing Archer's hand before he could leave. Master Archer. Lily has a request. Archer listened to Lily's words before staring at the girl in shock. You. Lily apologizes to have asked this from Master Archer, Lily said, lowering her head. But Lily doesn't want to show Lily's disgrace to Master Bell or Lord Castor. So please, don't let Lily be seen by them. And with that, Archer leaped up to the rooftops, leaving Lily alone on the street before she walked in through the doors. Archer then moved from his position, jumping from roof to roof and getting a good idea of all the windows and entrances to the Familia home as well as the line of sight of the watchtowers. Not that he had needed to. When he checked the closest one, he found a Soma Familia member who had passed out drunk lying on the ground. Nonetheless, he was able to watch Lily make it up to Soma's room unchallenged, where she took off the ring and opened the door inside. Turning his head, Archer looked at a mirror he had set up on a rooftop that gave him a clear view of the room through the open window and spotted Soma, a rather tired-looking god with long and unkempt hair. Lily knelt down behind the god that was more focused on the wine in front of him than he was of her. He watched her lower her head to offer the money and beg to be released from the Familia. But Soma didn't seem to care. From what Archer could tell from his lip movement, He had no ears for those that succumbed to his wine. I see, Archer thought as he glanced back at the unconscious guard behind him. He's not apathetic, not really. He's just full of disappointment. Disappointment at his children for failing to rise up and surpass. Then before Lily could say anything else, Soma took a bottle off a shelf and poured it into a glass and held it out to Lily. Whether Castor predicted it or not, Soma took the initiative himself. His face broke into a bitter expression as Lily's request echoed in his mind. If Lily loses herself to the Soma wine, please save Lily. Please kill Lily. Stay strong, Lilaruka Arde, Archer said as he knocked the sword into his bow and pulled back on the string. Lily felt the same fear that crept up on her when Castor showed her the failed Soma wine return as she picked up the glass with shaking hands. This was it. She had to win. She had to beat the wine. If she didn't, one way or the other, her life was over. It was strange. She couldn't believe how her view of everything changed over the last few days. There were so many moments where she just wanted everything to end, just so she could be released from the hell she lived in. Now, she wanted to live. She wanted to walk alongside that smile gave her hope in heroes. She wanted to receive praise from the hand that stood by her side. She wanted to prove that she was worthy to follow that golden light into the future. No, and not to the light, not to the smile, not to the hand, but to herself. She wanted to prove to herself that she wanted to live on. And so, she drank the accursed wine. Archer's breath hitched as he saw Lily writhe as if lightning was coursing through her body before a strange smile appeared on her face, and her tiny body fell over. I'm sorry, Archer said as he pulled back the string of his bow. But before he released the arrow, his eyes spotted the tiny body shake a bit before it slowly pushed itself upright, tears streaming from her eyes as her lips moved. Please, let Lily leave the familia. The god was frozen in place. He had turned away from Lily's body in apparent resignation and disappointment before turning halfway back around when Lily pushed herself back up. At Lily's request, the god moved toward her and helped her sit upright before pulling her shirt up to reveal her back. Then, with slow movements that spoke volumes of hesitation and lack of practice, the god traced his blood on Lily's back for a few minutes before pulling her shirt down and staring out the window, right into the mirror Archer had set up and into Archer's eyes themselves. Now exposed, Archer dismissed his weapons and hopped down from the watchtower and made his way to the window of Soma's room and slipped inside in a low crouch. My apologies for the rudeness, he said to the god. No need, Soma said as he gestured to Lily, who still seemed a bit out of it. I leave her to you. Thank you, Lord Soma, Archer said as he walked over and picked Lily up in his arms. Master Archer? Lily croaked out. Is that you? Yeah, Archer answered her softly. Lily did it. Yeah, you did. Good job. As he headed to the door, Lily suddenly stopped him as she turned her head to her former god. Lord Soma? She spoke up. Thank you for everything. There was no irony or resentment in her voice. She probably just wanted to end things on a peaceful note. As it was, her status had no symbol now, meaning she was just a normal person without a god to follow. I have done you wrong, Lilaruka Arde, Soma said. Take care of your health. Lily's sleepy-looking eyes opened wide as if those words had caused her to sober up immediately. In her current state, she was unable to do anything more than nod her head before Archer opened the door and left the room. Master Archer? Lily began, tugging a bit on his mantle. Yeah. Lily wants to go home now. Yeah. Let's go home. Bell had woken up long after Archer and Lily had gone to the Soma Familia, and Castor had told him to get out of the house to get his head on straight. You need to get a solid hold on your emotions, Castor had yelled at him. What kind of hero faints at the cost of his own weapon? Go cool your head. Aha! I made him mad again, Bell said with a sigh. I suppose me passing out over that must seem pathetic when he has weapons that probably cost just as much if not more in his vault. Bell knew he was rather immature. He could barely touch his goddess or Lily without feeling extremely embarrassed. In the eyes of Castor, it must have been infuriating. Couldn't be helped though. He was raised only by his grandfather, and before coming to Orario, he wasn't really close to any girls in his life. And to think I wanted to have a harem like Grandpa said, ahaha. He let out a laugh as he remembered his childish goal. Well, it's not like wanting to become a hero isn't also childish. Castor is right. I need to hurry up and grow up if I want to be a proper hero. Though, I don't think any girls are going to be asking me to save them anytime soon. No sooner did he say that did someone come running up to him. Belle, Seer, the waitress from the hostess of fertility, came running up to him. Please help me. Yes. The next thing Belle knew, he was in the back of the pub washing dishes. Is this what you meant? Belle asked Seer beside him. I'm sorry, the waitress said with a smile. But we're really busy today, so any extra hands would help a lot. Bell nodded as he turned to look at the front where people had taken up all the seats and the other waitresses were running around ragged. Back in the kitchen, both the owner, Mia Grand, and the cook were running dishes back and forth from the stove to the counter. "Well, I suppose I am happy to help," Bell said. "Too bad Archer had something else to do. He cooks our familia's meals and they're always pretty good. He might have been able to help." "Speaking of that," Sear began, "Mama Mia's been wanting to talk to him. Can you pass on the message for her?" Did he do something wrong?" Bell asked, feeling worried as he glanced over at the woman who was most likely a former adventurer. "Oh no, not at all," Sear quickly assured him. "She wanted to offer him a temp job helping out whenever he's available. Like what I'm doing now? Hee. Kinda." Time passed as Bell continued being a chore boy for the pub, and the lunch rush finally ended with only a few customers trickling in. "It's over," Bell said as he thumped his head against the counter. "Thanks for your help," Mia Grand said as she placed a large plate of pasta in front of him. "On the house." "Thanks." Bell accepted the meal gratefully, having helped them through lunch. "So, you wanted to talk to my familia member?" "That young man figured out the recipe from just a single bowl," Mia said, looking both impressed and frustrated. "Got a good tongue in that head of his. You let him know if he ever gets tired of dungeon diving. He's welcome to work here. Knowing him, he might try to come help out after coming back from a dungeon," Bell said, and Mia let out a laugh before returning to the kitchen. "Thank you for your help again, Bell," Sear said as she came up to him. "You really saved us." "Well, getting a free lunch is enough of a thanks," Bell replied. "Come to think of it, were you not going to the dungeon today?" Sear asked. "I thought adventurers spent all day every day in the dungeon." "Well, like I said, Archer and our supporter all had some personal things to take care of and we just moved into a bigger house. Though I got kicked out for a bit since I made our captain mad." "Oh dear, what happened?" "I learned how much money my goddess spent on a single purchase," Bell replied, shaking from the mere memory of the price of his precious new dagger. "So expensive. So many zeros." Sear must have gotten a good idea of how absurd the price was since she placed a hand on her mouth and nodded. "Well, if you don't have anything to do for the day, how about try reading?" Bell slurped up the noodles that were trailing from his mouth before replying. "Reading," Bell repeated. "Well, my goddess has some books but they're a bit high level for me. I think the captain does too, but they're all about magic and stuff in a language I don't know. And that they were all engraved on stone tablets, but Sear didn't need to know that." "Then, how about this one?" Sear said, picking up a large antique-looking book on display. "A customer seemed to have left it behind the other day and hasn't come back to pick it up yet." Is it all right for me to read it if it belongs to someone else?" "As long as you bring it back, there shouldn't be a problem. Books don't disappear after someone reads them. Plus, I think it belongs to an adventurer, so there might be something useful for you in here. Many adventurers come to this bar. More than likely the owner of this book is one, too." She then turned back toward the kitchen where Mia was tossing something in a pan. "And Mama Mia doesn't really want it in the store, so you'd be doing us a favor too." "I see," Bell muttered. "Then I'll try reading it when I get home." Sear gave him a smile before returning to work. "Sear's got you wrapped around her finger, doesn't she, Meow?" the black-haired cat person waitress said as she slipped up behind Bell and started massaging his shoulders, causing him to choke a bit in surprise. "If you want to be spoiled so badly, then let Chloe spoil you a bit too." Huh. Bell stammered, only to be rescued by the elf waitress who came by and smacked the cat person on the head. "I'm sorry about that, Mr. Cranel," the elf, Rio Lion, said as she pulled Chloe away. "Please enjoy the rest of your meal. I need a better look of that immature and shapely treasure hidden underneath the back of those trousers, Goofa." "Oh, thanks," Bell said as he watched them leave before finishing his meal. Once he was back home, he headed up to the top floor where Castor had set up his office to apologize. "Irrelevant," the man said as he was sorting through some papers. "I suppose there is no point in trying to rush your maturation than it is trying to get the dungeon to stop spouting monsters. You shall be pleased to know that Arde has been freed from the Soma Familia." "Really?" Bell asked, happiness pouring out of his body. "All right. I'm so happy for her." "Indeed," Castor nodded and, although it was slight, Bell could see the ghost of a smile on his face as well. "She is currently resting until the effects of the Soma leave her body, with Goddess Hestia watching over her, and Archer is out procuring supplies for a celebration. As such, you have the rest of the day to do as you wish. Although the goddess would rather you not, I give you leave to enter the dungeon as well, but for no further than the 5th floor. You are to be back home before the 7th bell." "Oh no, it's fine," Bell said. "I don't plan on going to the dungeon today. A friend lent me a book and I want to try reading it." Castor looked rather surprised at Bell's words but nevertheless nodded his head. "I see, to train your mind over your body today. he said with approval. Very well. Enjoy yourself until the feast. Yes. With a nod and a bow, Bell bade goodbye to Castor and headed to one of the rooms on the second floor where he had dumped his meager belongings in to claim for his own. My own room, he said as he looked around and sat at the desk provided by the Goibniu Familia as part of the renovation. He never had his own room before, always sleeping in one big one when he was still living with his grandfather, and then the basement room he shared with Hestia and the servants. He looked around the rather Spartan walls and wondered how he should start decorating. Having a small personal library sounded great. He'd fill it with books about legends and myths of heroes of the past. He wouldn't ask Castor for money to buy those books though. This was a personal thing, so he'd work for it in the dungeon, then buy a bookshelf and books to fill it in. Feet pounding against the floorboards rapidly in excitement, he quickly opened the book and looked over the first page. Mirror, mirror. The fairest witch in the land is me. An autobiography, with appendix. Awaken your magic. Right off the bat, it sounded childish. Chapter 1. Modern magic even goblins can understand. Teaching magic to goblins. No one should do that. Bell was starting to feel rather worried at the author's choice in titles, but other than that the contents were more serious. The book began by explaining the two types of magic. Innate and acquired. Innate magic was magic inherent to various races. Ones that can be learned without a god's grace and are trained from early age to master them, while acquired magic can awaken through the Falna, and its effect depends on the exelia of the person holding it. Archer and Castor's magic must be innate then, Bell reasoned. And the servant summoning spell I have must be considered acquired, since I got it from taking the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail. Currently it was kept in Hestia's care, as being so close to a goddess seemed to help ease the burden on Bell for keeping two servants at once. I want to hurry up and level up so I can meet more of them, Bell thought to himself as he turned the page and continued reading. Magic is interest. This is a vital factor for all acquired magic. What holds your interest? What do you accept? Hate, want, grieve for, worship, swear to, long for. The trigger is already within you. Your Falna will carve your soul into a blazing sun. A picture appeared in Bell's vision. It's a head. It has eyes. It has a nose. It has a mouth. It has ears. It's a person's face. A human face with closed eyes is drawn out in black. A picture made from the words of the passage. If you desire it, answer. If you desire it, break. If you desire it, focus. A terrible mirror of truth lies before you. It was Bell's face, he realized. Limited from his chin to his forehead and nothing else. Rather than a face, it was more of a mask. It's another face of Bell. A part of him that he didn't know. Now let's begin. The eyes open. It speaks with the same voice as Bell. The ruby-red letters that spell out the eyes shoot through Bell. Short passages that make up the small lips spin words. What is magic to me? Bell don't know, but he did feel that it was something great and mysterious. Something like a finishing move to slay monsters and turn the tide around back to a hero's favor. A power that Bell wanted for himself, not to summon others to fight for him. What is magic to me? Magic was power. A power to defeat enemies. Not a shield for allies like Archer, but one to strike down the foe and remove it from Bell's way like Castor. What kind of a thing is magic to me? Thing? It was a vague question, but to Bell magic was fire. It was something strong, ferocious and hot. Something that could torch the plains, scatter ash, ravage the air and drown everything in flame. An immortal flame that burns forever. What do you seek in magic? To become stronger like him. To become faster like him. Like light breaking through the clouds. Like lightning racing across the sky. More than anyone, more than anyone, more than anyone. Faster than anyone. Like him. He wanted to become a hero. Like a fool pursuing an impossible ideal. To be someone who reacts at the first sign of trouble and ends indecisively. To stand like a mountain before the enemy and the one that needed to be saved. Even if it were to be a never-ending dream he'd spent his whole life chasing. He felt that it would put him one step closer to his ideal. To be a hero that can stand beside the others. And to be a master that wouldn't embarrass them. You're such a child. Sorry. But that's me too. The Bell inside the book smiles. Then everything goes black. Bell jerked awake when he felt someone shake his shoulder. Fall asleep while reading? Archer asked as Bell looked up. Oh, looks like it. Bell yawned as he closed the book while rubbing his eyes. Didn't think I'd see you reading. What was it about? I think it was about the basics of magic, but I don't really remember after falling asleep. Haha. Is that right? Archer asked, looking interested. Mind if I take a look later? Go ahead. Oh right. What about Lily? She's fine. Lady Hestia has gone to wake her up for the celebration. I heard she drank the actual soma. Is she going to be okay? Bell asked as the two of them headed downstairs. For the most part, yes, Archer nodded. Though she might not be able to drink any wine anymore. I think I understand, Bell said. It's because she drank something so good that everything else will be disappointing afterwards? That's right. How would you feel if I stopped cooking and you had to go back to eating Lady Hestia's Jagamarukuns for every meal again? Aha! I wouldn't complain since they're really good even when cold, but I might feel a bit sad. Well, lucky for you, Lady Hestia brought some back from her part-time job, since she still has to work off the debt for your dagger. The two of them entered the kitchen to see Castor already there, sitting at the head of the table with his arms crossed in a chair with golden decorations on it. The chair across from him on the other end of the table was draped with white and blue cloth with a flame emblazoned on it, marking it as Hestia's seat. Compared to that, all the other chairs were uniform and relatively simple. The table has also already been set with a large pot of soup, a sandwich platter, a roasted bird, and of course the aforementioned Jagamarukuan potato puffs. As Belle sat down on the side closest to the door, Archer moved around the table to stand next to the soup pot as the door opened up and Hestia came in, holding the shoulders of a rather nervous-looking Lily. "Gee, good evening," she says, fidgeting a bit. "Good evening, Arde," Castor said with a smirk. "How does it feel to be a free woman?" Lily feels like everything is one hazy dream. Lily isn't sure what she is supposed to do now. "Well, for starters," Belle said as he stood up and walked over to Lily. "How about something to eat? You hadn't had anything to eat since this morning, right?" Lily's response was for her stomach to growl as the girl blushed and clutched her stomach. Lily would like that. With Lily sitting next to Belle, the party got underway. Archer dutifully served everyone a bowl of soup before sitting down himself as everyone enjoyed the small party for Lily. Lord Castor?" Lily spoke up as Archer was filling her third bowl of soup. "What is it?" Castor asked, not opening his eyes as he swirled a glass of wine in front of him. "Lily would like to thank Lord Castor for everything he's done for Lily," Lily said as she lowered her head. Lily thinks that because she drank some of Lord Castor's wine that Lily wasn't lost to the Soma. "Huh!" Castor suddenly made a rather annoyed and incredulous face as he shouted. "Fool! Did you really think I'd let someone drink my wine so easily? Eh? What you drank was not my finest wine but just some juice found in a marketplace. Do not be so ready to believe every little thing." Lily blushed as her body sank down a bit under the table. "You triumphed over the Soma wine with nothing more than your own will," Castor said before sitting back in his chair as Lily looked up at him in surprise. "Do not confuse humility with self-depreciation. Do not attribute your success to your tools. Claim your own achievements as what they are." "Why, yes." Lily nodded as she straightened up in her chair. "Thank you very much." "Humph. Then continue enjoying the celebration. You are the guest of honor after all." "Yes. Juice from a marketplace that was good enough for you to place into your treasury," Archer muttered as Castor smirked in his direction. "So Lily," Hestia began as she wolfed down her fifth Jagamarukuan, "have you thought about what you wanted to do after this? As Castor said, you're welcome to stay here as long as you need to figure things out." "Yes, Lily has a plan, she began, fidgeting with her hands for a bit. "Lily, if possible, would like to join the Hestia Familia, maybe?" "Of course you can," Hestia and Belle shouted at the same time. "Why are you acting all shy?" Archer asked as he walked around the table and placed a hand on Lily's head. "You're practically one of us already. Come, I'll give you my grace right away," Hestia said as she jumped out of her seat. "Boys, turn around." Archer turned on the spot without missing a beat while Belle stammered, red in the face for a moment before quickly turning around and covering both eyes with his hands for good measure. Castor simply rolled his eyes before obeying. "Although it'll mostly just you and Belle down there, I can rest easy knowing someone else is with him," Hestia said as she pricked her finger and started drawing on Lily's back. "Yes, Lily will do her best. Now let's see," Hestia began. "This is the first time I'm doing this for someone who had the grace beforehand, so it might be a bit slow." "Aha, there we go." Hestia nodded as she examined Lily's back. Hey, wait a minute. When did you get your status last updated?" Hestia asked. Half a year ago?" Lily admitted. "Geez, what is that Soma doing?" The goddess sighed as she traced Lily's back a bit more. "Okay, status updated, now the rest." "Oh, so this is your magic, is it, Cinderella?" "Yes, it has saved Lily's life a lot of times." "So I gathered. Then there's the skill alter assist. Is this how you carry that massive bag of yours? I did hear Hephaestus say that supporters tend to get this skill and—" Something the matter, goddess?" Belle asked, not turning around. "A second skill. What is this thing?" Lily turned her head around in surprise. "What is it? Let Lily see." All right. Give me a second," Hestia said as she placed some parchment on Lily's back and peeled it off. "Lilaruka Arde. Level 1. Strength. I-42. I-70. Defense. I-42 H-101. Dexterity. H143, H192. Agility. G285, F321. Magic. F317, E427. Magic. Cinderella. Shapeshifting magic. Target will take the envisioned shape at the time of the spell. Magic will fail without a clear image. Imitation is recommended. Trigger. Your scars are mine. My scars are mine. Release. Stroke of Midnight's Bell. Skills. Artel Assist. Activates when carried weight exceeds a certain level. Amount of assistance is proportional to weight carried. King's Follower. Crown's Guard. Parameters increase when acting on orders from a leader. Strength and dexterity increases when defending a leader. Ha 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 ha. Caster let out a laugh as Lily stared at the skill sheet in her shaking hands. You really are a shrewd one, Arde. Lily is sorry for being so presumptuous, Lily said, still staring at the page with rather empty eyes. Not at all. Your devotion is splendid, Arde. But it is an arduous and thorny path, for the king is a fickle one. But do not abandon it, and I shall not abandon you. Lily glanced up from her sheet and looked Caster in the eye with a smile. Yes, your majesty, she said with a bow. While we're at it, let's update everyone else's stats, Hestia said, walking over to Caster. Caster, you first. It is unlikely anything has changed, Caster said, but he turned around nonetheless. It is difficult to build upon perfection. Yeah, Hestia said dismissively as she traced his back. Well, you're right. Nothing. Caster simply scoffed as he put his vest back on while Hestia trotted over to Archer. Whoa, you gained a whole 5 points, Archer, Hestia said, staring at the man's chiseled back. 2 in magic, 2 in agility, and 1 in dexterity. Those plant monsters you were talking about must have been really scary. They were giving 3 level 5s trouble, Archer said as he threw his armored undershirt back on. I'm rather surprised I didn't get more though. Then again, I only supported them from behind. Well, at least we know that you can still get points, Hestia said, patting Archer's arm. You probably have to reach the middle or lower floors first though. But that won't happen for a long while. Archer shrugged as Hestia finally reached Bell. I know I just updated you yesterday, but since your magic status is always growing, let's just do it anyway, so you aren't left out, she said. Understood, goddess. Bell nodded as he removed his shirt. Like I thought, Hestia hummed. You're still growing at a stupidly fast pace, but since you didn't do much since the last update, since defeating that silverback, it isn't as insane as before. Well, aside from the magic status as usual, but dash. Hestia suddenly froze before gripping Bell's sides and thrust her face at his status as if she couldn't believe her eyes. Magic, Hestia gasped. Heh? Well, I mean, the summon servant spell is still there, right? Bell asked. No, I mean, another magic spell appeared, Hestia shouted, causing them all to stare at Bell. Eh? Hestia quickly slapped another parchment onto Bell's back and pulled it off. After checking to make sure there were no problems, Hestia placed the sheet on the table next to Bell's plate. There, underneath Bell's status, was indeed a new magic spell. Firebolt, Archer read. But there's no incantation? It just says Swift Strike Magic. I'm telling you right now, I didn't forget to write it down, okay? Hestia said, looking at Archer, who quickly held his hands up in surrender. It's just a guess right now, but I think it's a spell without an incantation. It might activate when Bell says Firebolt, though. But since it has no incantation, I have no idea how powerful it can be. As a general rule, the longer an incantation was for magic, the more powerful it was. Of course, it was not a hard rule, as there were those with skills and the skill to channel their magic and recite their incantations faster than others. Powerful spells do not need a long incantation to be powerful, Caster commented. I have heard of a few heroes that can compress the incantation of powerful spells into a single word, though I suppose that the circumstances are different compared to this one. Really now? Hestia sighed as Bell was jumping around with joy. Lily and Bell are growing rather well, but you two are stuck where you are. Is this what they mean by peak of the mountain? I don't think that's the right phrase, Archer muttered. A plateau then? That sounds more accurate, but... In any case, you should try it out in the dungeon tomorrow, Hestia said to Bell before turning to Lily. And you should try to see how that Crown's Guard skill works. Indeed, Caster nodded. We must find out what orders affect your skill and if there is a range to it. The second part is self-explanatory, but the first part is still vague. Yes, Lily nodded. For the time being, let's at least finish dinner before lest it goes to waste, Archer said as everyone sat back down. I guess we should plan how far we're going down then? Attack magic of this era, Caster said as he supported his chin with his arm. I suppose I shall come along to witness this as well. Before heading to the dungeon, be sure to stock up on mind potions. Yes, Bell nodded. I'll visit the Blue Pharmacy first thing tomorrow morning. The main objective will be to test Arde's new skill and Cranel's new magic, Castor said. Therefore, we shall only move to the 5th floor first. Depending on the situation then, we will either return for the day or advance to the 10th floor. Oh, Your Majesty is being ambitious, Lily said with a smile before looking unsure. But, Your Majesty and Archer are going to leave it up to Master Bell and Lily, right? Lily is unsure that she is up to it. Lily has gone down to the 10th floor and beyond before as a supporter for the Soma Familia, but she was completely useless in fighting. That was then, this is now, Castor said, dismissing her concerns. With your new skill, you will prove more efficient in doing so. But have no fear. I do not expect you to fight with a blade. Your crossbow will be more than enough to provide the boy with some more support outside of simply providing a first-hand account of the monsters. Lily looked a little relieved before nodding dutifully. Hee. Hestia started laughing to herself at her end of the table. Like this, it feels like I've finally started watching my familia grow. A shame that your all-men harem has come to an end with the addition of Lily Lady Hestia, Archer said, causing Hestia to gape at him in horror. What? I never considered it like that. Really? A goddess living on her own for a while before a young boy comes to live with her, followed by 2 young men. Is that not the beginnings of popular stories aimed toward women? Hestia blinked and stared at Archer before clutching the side of her head in realization. You're right. That was a close one, Hestia said before turning to Bell. Bell, if you do summon another servant anytime soon, make sure there's at least another woman. I can't be living surrounded by men all the time. It would be a blemish on my name as a virgin goddess. I am not supposed to have a harem like those goddesses of love. I have no control over that though. Bell protested as Archer and Lily chuckled while Castor simply shook his head with a sigh. Chapter 8, New Beginnings. Later that night, after Lily's celebration for leaving the Soma Familia, Bell was lying awake in his bed staring at the ceiling like a child too excited to sleep due to going on vacation with his family in the morning. Not only were all 4 of them going into the dungeon for the first time together, he was going to be using magic. Sure, the servant summoning ritual was amazing, but it wasn't something he could use every day or it would probably kill him. But with something like Firebolt, he would be able to expand his skill set even more. He had a practical magic spell now. He was also feeling completely wide awake. Jumping out of bed, Bell put on his breastplate and coat as quietly as possible and made for the door, only for a pair of strong hands to grasp his shoulders the second he stepped outside. Where do you think you're going, mongrel? Fear. Pure, unadulterated fear seeped into his body. His legs started to shake as he felt his breath slow to a crawl while his heart began to race uncontrollably. Turning his head, he saw Castor to his left and Archer to his right, both of them having placed a hand on his shoulders to stop him. Really now? Archer sighed. You're like a little kid who wants to open his new toy and play with it right away. At least you lasted for a while. Speak for yourself, Castor growled. If you were going to try and sneak out, then do so straight away. Do not force me to wait this long. I have other things I have to be doing. I'm sorry, Bell said, looking down like a child with his hand caught in a snack jar. Well, it's not like I don't sympathize, Archer said as he spun Bell around and walked him back inside his room. I did something similar before. He then looked at Bell's desk where the book was still sitting. Oh right. Mind if I have a look at the book? Archer asked. Sure. Bell nodded as he started taking off his armor. That armor is unsuited for you now, Castor said as Archer walked over to the book. Take some time in the morning to go with Arde to Babel Tower and shop for a new one. Babel Tower? You mean Hephaestos Familia shops? Bell asked. I don't want to ask you for any more money though. That would be unnecessary, Castor said. You still have your personal savings, do you not? Not all the stores sell equipment worth millions. Goddess Hephaestos has stores on the lower levels that are geared toward new adventurers. You do not think that every blacksmith Hephaestos claims produces first-rate armors and weapons right away, do you? Ah, that makes sense, Bell nodded. Certainly there would be level 1 blacksmiths starting out as well that need to earn money. New blacksmiths show off their wares in hopes of repeat customers to make exclusive contracts with. In short, they contract with an adventurer to make equipment for them and that person only buys from them. Thus both sides profit. Bell nodded his head in understanding as Archer flipped through the pages. Oi Bell, Archer said. This book is blank. Ha! Bell and Castor turned toward Archer, who held the book out toward them sideways and let pages fall. Each and every single page was devoid of ink. Did you pick up a blank book and dream about reading it? Archer asked. No way. I'm sure I read it, Bell said as Castor walked up toward him. Ha! Bell was suddenly closely acquainted with Castor's hand as it clamped down on his face and started squeezing. Ow 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 ow! Castor? You idiot! Do you realize what that is? Castor said as he lifted Bell off the floor while still grasping his head like that. Archer, bring that book and follow me. We're showing that to Hestia. What? What's going on? Castor, this really hurts. Ow. They made their way to Hestia's room. Hestia was still awake, reading a book on her bed under the light of a magic lamp when the three of them entered. What is it? Hestia asked as she looked at Castor, who was standing in the front with his arms crossed. Bell, who was rubbing the side of his head with tears on his face, and Archer, who was holding on to the blank book. Shouldn't you be resting for the dungeon tomorrow? This idiot got a hold of this and read it, Castor said, jerking his head toward Bell and the book. You should understand. Hestia took the book from Archer and looked at it before opening it and flipping through a few pages before turning pale. Grimoire? She asked, her eyes spinning as if she was faced with a debt collector collecting on something she had no information about despite having the paperwork in her hands. What's that? Bell asked, looking slightly worried. Basically, it's a book that gifts its reader magic when read. Hestia said as she sat back down, and Bell started to look like someone just dumped him in a bathtub full of sweat. It can only be made by someone who has 2 development ability that lets them create magic items with special properties. Basically someone with at least level 3. It's a magic item that rarely has a set price and is usually sold to the highest bidder. It wouldn't be strange if it costs just as much if not more than Hephaestus's top quality items. The same pitiful dog squeal Bell made when he learned the price of his knife made an expectant return. And it loses its power after the first time someone reads it. It's nothing more than garbage now. Bell's knees went weak and he slipped and fell into Archer's arms before being deposited into a chair. What do I do? Bell asked. It was a lost item at the pub. Listen, Bell, Hestia said as she stands up and pointed to him. You ran across the original owner on the way home and gave it back to him before reading it. So you never brought it here. You never read it. And even if there was some mistake, it was already a blank book by the time you brought it home. Got it. That's wrong, Bell argued. I can't just do that. Bell, the lower world is not all sunshine and flowers. There are many dark, dark things. I've seen them with my own eyes. Being thrown out of home, being so poor that even buying potato puffs was impossible and starving, being forced to live under ruins, carrying an enormous debt. The world is full of injustices. Was that not all your own doing? Archer asked, and Hestia beautifully ignored him. In any case, Hestia shouted. That's the story, so stick with it, Bell. Hestia crossed her arms and nodded her head as if the case was closed. Master Bell is too honest. The next morning, Lily and Bell left the house together to head by some mind potions as well as some new armor for Bell. However, despite Hestia's insistence, Bell couldn't just lie about it. Even if he did, it would fall apart the moment the original owner tried to find it again at the pub. So they went and returned it with a proper explanation, to which the pub owner, Mia Grand, said not to worry about it since the original owner would have no doubt written it off once they realized they lost it. If you lost a wallet full of cash, do you really expect the cash to still be there when you find it again? Was how she put it. Well, Lily thinks that is both one of your good points and bad points, she admitted as she followed a distressed-looking Bell, holding a lunch given by Seer at the waitress's insistence, toward Blue Pharmacy. This place is run by the Mayak Familia, right? Yes. Do you know them, Lily? Bell asked. Lily knows that they were a very famous familia before, rivaling the Dien Chet familia, Lily said. But then something happened and the familia dissolved or something. Lily heard that Lord Mayak fell into debt saving one of his familia members and then let those in his familia that didn't want to be in debt leave. Is that so? Bell asked, thinking about the kind god who sometimes gave him potions for free and the perpetually tired-looking Chianthrope who always manned the counter alone. I never knew that. It's not something they would talk about, Lily said. Does Master Bell think Lady Hestia would talk about how much it costs for Master Bell's dagger? Please don't remind me about that. They entered a rather rundown store off West Main Street that had the Mayak Familia's emblem over it and headed to the front counter past the shelves. Good morning, Miss Naza. Morning, Bell. Long time no see. Naza Ersuisu, Mayak Familia's only member. Bell wondered if she was the one who Lily was referring to, as she was always wearing a glove over her right hand, which now made Bell wonder if she was hiding an injury or something. Oh? Who is this? Naza said, spotting the rather tiny Lily, who pulled her hood off to be polite and to show her false dog ears. A new member? Nice to meet you, Miss Naza, Lily said with a bow as his false tail was wagging back and forth from underneath her coat. Lily is a new member of the Hestia Familia. I see. I hope for your patronage. Please buy a lot. Yes, Lily would like to purchase 10 normal potions and 4 mind recovery potions. Planning on going down far? Naza asked as she placed a case on the counter and started to pull out some rather expensive bottles along with the regular potion bottles Bell was used to seeing. Yes, Bell nodded. Our captain hopes to hit the 10th floor today. Captain? Weren't you the captain, Bell? Well, I gave the title to someone with more experience than me, Bell admitted, and Naza nodded in understanding. I wouldn't want to lead everyone into an accident because of a dumb mistake after all. I see, Naza said, placing the case away. It is good not to be prideful about that. Here's the payment, Lily said, placing a bag on the counter. Please check it. Everything seems fine, Naza said as she carefully passed the bag of potions to Bell. Here, with a little present. Eh? Bell gasped as he counted 12 regular potions. No, we can't take this. It's fine, Naza said. Those two are not as effective as regular potions due to a mistake. Lily sees, Lily said as she took a look at the top one. It looks like too much water was added. Yes. Please use them for smaller injuries. All right. Thank you very much, Miss Naza. As they left the shop, Bell handed Lily the potions so she could put them in her back but kept one on his person at her insistence. Lily wonders how the mistake was made, she said as she examined all the potions. Maybe they were tired? Bell pointed out. It's just Naza and Lord Mayak after all. Lily still looked unsure but put it aside. Now then, Lily will show Master Bell the shop for newbies to buy armor, Lily said as they made their way to Babel Tower. They exit the elevator onto the 5th floor and make their pass several displays of weapons with various customers making their way around. There are a lot of people here, Bell noted. Yes, Lily nodded. This place is where they sell weapons for the lower-ranked adventurers made by the Familia's lower-level smiths. So everyone can shop here and not only the first-class adventurers. Today we'll try to find Master Bell a new set of armor. A full set if possible, since Master Bell's breastplate and coat will not be enough anymore. Bell nodded in agreement as he looked around and the shiny weapons and armor located in the store. I can't believe these are made by low-level smiths, Bell muttered as he stared at one of the mannequins displaying a shining suit of plate armor. Yes, Lily nodded. Shall we look around for a bit? Lily thinks she also wants a new coat after seeing all of this. Something like this will probably make Lord Castor angry if he looks at it for too long. She gestured to her dull-colored coat that was torn and patched in various places. I don't think he'd care about that, Bell said. Lily will take no chances in making her king look bad. Lily insisted. Master Bell too. Master Bell should stop doing things that make Lord Castor angry. Lily is worried for Master Bell's head too. Thanks. Master Bell is a very kind person, so Lily wants Master Bell's equipment to be suitable for him. Also, Master Bell never heard of a hero who goes around saving people in rags. Right? Please stop. Bell groaned as his cheeks reddened in embarrassment as Lily giggled. Then let's look around and meet back up at the elevator in half an hour. Lily is fine with that. She nodded before wandering toward the cloth armor area as Bell went to the light armor section. As Bell took in the sights and sounds, he found himself in the very back of the store where massive shelves lined the walls. Sitting on all of them were armor pieces crammed into tiny boxes and stuffed together. Bell wondered if they were just junk pieces, but the boxes all had price tags on them. Is this the bargain area or maybe the unsold stuff? He asked out loud as he examined the rather low prices on the tags. There was no way a prominent familia like Hephaistos's would sell faulty equipment, so perhaps they were most likely items that were deemed not fit to be put onto display. Bargain bin was also most likely accurate, as he had spotted a suit of armor going for 15,000 in the front and his breastplate had gone for 5,000, while he saw a box with a whole set going for barely 7,000. A box in the center row caught Bell's eyes and he pulled it forward and lifted the breastplate from it. It was light, so much lighter than the one from the guild, and although Bell wasn't completely sure, but he felt it was much sturdier than it too. Holding it up to his chest, he found that it was also a perfect fit. Oh no! I think I love it, Bell said as he looked through the rest of the pieces. It may have only the first armor he really looked at, but now he can't imagine wearing anything else. It was light, felt sturdy, simple in its silver and red design, and cost only 9,900 valis. He was indeed in love with it. Flipping the breastplate over, he found a signature on it. Welf Kratzo. He may only be a newbie smith, but Bell already loved his work. If Bell ever needed something else, he'd try to find more stuff from this smith. Satisfied, he walked over to the counter to pay. Wow, Master Bell looks very gallant. Thanks. Your new coat looks nice too, Lily. After buying the new armor, Bell borrowed a stall to change and then waited by the elevator for Lily. She came up wearing a new white coat with pinkish sleeves and a bright smile. It's almost time to meet up with Master Archer and Lord Castor, right? She asked as they got onto the elevator before someone else needed to use it. Lily understands. Lily doesn't want to come home to a starving and crying goddess either. Bell chuckled as the doors opened and they made their way to the entrance of the dungeon area. Bell watched the various parties of adventurers go into the dungeon, filled with energy and excitement for the day ahead, as they waited for the two spirits to show up. Lily seized them. Sure enough, the Golden King and the Red Archer came through the entrance with the latter wearing a small pack. Good. The two of you look presentable. Castor nodded. You remember today's objective, correct? Yes. The two of them nodded in unison. Today's objective was to simply try out Lily's new skill and Bell's new magic. If the results were adequate, they would then try to make their way beyond the 10th floor before returning to the surface. Very well. Let us descend. They entered the dungeon through a corridor that was a bit out of the way and proceeded as Lily navigated with her map. Before long they came across a pair of goblins. Cranel, Castor said simply, and Bell eagerly stepped forward with his arm outstretched. Firebolt. Electric flames carve sharp lines in the air before striking the closest goblin and exploding in its face, burning it to ash save for its magic stone. Arde. Lily then pulled up her sleeve and revealed a tiny crossbow, one of the little ballista series that the Goibniu Familia created for Palams. With hands showing familiarity with the weapon, Lily quickly loaded in a small bolt and fired it, scoring a direct hit in the second goblin's skull. Well? Castor asked as Lily ran over to the goblin to carve out its crystal. I don't think it used up all that much, Bell said. It's fast and strong enough to kill a goblin in one hit, but I think we need more testing on stronger enemies. Lily felt it was a bit easier loading the crossbow, Lily said as she pulled the tiny magic stone fragment out of the corpse, allowing the body to vanish into black mist. And the loader seemed a bit easier to pull, but other than that Lily feels no different. Perhaps with a ranged weapon like a crossbow the effects are smaller, Castor said. Cranel, give Arde your knife. Eh? Both of them let out a noise at the same time. The knife works for any one of Hestia Familia, Castor said. We will have Arde fight the next monster alone with it. Don't worry, Archer said as Bell handed a very nervous-looking Lily his dagger. I'll keep any others off of you. Why yes. Lily nodded as she handed Archer her pack, which the man lifted rather easily despite its bulk. Lily will do her best. The next group of monsters were a trio of kobolds. At Castor's order, Bell blasted two of them with magic, disintegrating them just like the goblin from earlier before Lily charged forward, knife in hand as the hieroglyphics engraved into the blade began glowing. Lower yourself and slide, Castor ordered, and Lily obeyed, her body sliding underneath the kobold's swing. Swing upward. The dagger in Lily's hand swung upward in an arc, slicing clean through the monster's arm below its elbow. As it howled in pain, Lily got behind it and stabbed the knife into the back of its neck, causing it to fall forward on its face onto the ground as Lily was standing over it, panting heavily. Amazing, Lily, Bell said as reached down and pulled the knife out of the corpse. Ah. Lily was super scared, she said with a sigh. Lily is not used to fighting in the front. You still did great, Archer said as he returned the pack to Lily, who quickly rummaged through it for a water container for a quick drink. What was it like? It felt like Lily didn't have to think, Lily said as she closed the container. Like Lily entrusted everything to Lord Castor and her body could react on those orders alone. I see, Castor muttered. A skill that lets a leader manage the user down to the smallest detail outside of an overall command. It is of little use with only one user, but if one were to get a half-dozen or so. Castor then trailed off with a shrug. Regardless, there is no point in forcing you to play a role you are neither suited for nor comfortable with. A rear support suits you better than a front-line fighter. Lily wholeheartedly agrees with His Majesty's judgment, Lily said without missing a beat. Nevertheless, Archer said as he held out a small dagger in his hand toward Lily. Best to keep one on you in the unlikely event something jumps in the middle of us. In the upper levels, that shouldn't happen, Lily said. Not unless the entire dungeon completely changes. But then everyone would have bigger things to worry about at that point. Should we keep going? Bell suggested. I think the magic doesn't take much out of me at all. No doubt due to the upkeep of our summoning, Archer said. Like this, your magic status will keep growing simply from us existing and in turn, makes your firebolt stronger. Really now, what a convenient system, Castor huffed. The spell both moves and fires quickly, and by simply going about your day without even using it, you may eventually be able to fire a spell that can level a building with a single breath. Bell's eyes began shining at Castor's words, and he resolved to work as hard as possible to make that a reality. The party made fast and constant progress through the dungeon floors. Spurred on by Castor, Bell and Lily dispatched everything that came their way. Sometimes Castor had Lily fight alone, causing her supply of bolts to run out, but they were easily replenished by Archer's magic. And other times Bell was fighting alone with conditions such as no using magic or only using magic. I had planned on calling for a camp earlier, however the two of you had surpassed my expectations for the day, Castor said as they stood at the entrance to the 10th floor and looked down a long staircase toward the misty level below. I shall remember to adjust it accordingly. Lily feels great, she said, pumping her tiny arms. Lily feels like she can keep going without a break. Me too, Bell agreed. Maybe just one more fight before camp? There's no need to rush, Archer said. You're both probably still in a high from making it all the way down here. Let's wait here at the entrance and have some food. Though they were still full of energy, both of them obeyed without complaint. Wow, I still can't believe that I can use attack magic now, Bell said with a happy laugh as he looked at his hand while holding a wooden bowl in his other hand. I mean, I always played around as a kid while tending the field with Grandpa about using magic, but now it's reality. Well, save your excitement until after you eat, Archer said as he placed a ball of fried rice into Bell's bowl and then poured hot water over it, allowing it to split apart and reveal grilled bird meat and veggies inside. Master Archer's food is as fragrant as always, Lily said as she basked in the scent of her bowl happily with her tail swishing back and forth. Even though it's just rations for the dungeon. This would still keep for a long time, Archer said. Just cook the ingredients, then pack it into rice and fry it to keep the insides fresh. Then just pour hot water or broth over it and you got an instant and filling soup. Castor ate his food silently as he looked at a page containing details of the 10th floor that he had gotten from the guild. But still, Archer muttered as he looked around. It's pretty difficult keeping track of time in the dungeon, isn't it? There's always a source of light, and depending on how many fights you get into, you can lose track of time if you don't have a good sense of it. Yeah. Bell nodded as he glanced back down at the 10th floor. Maybe we should go back after taking a look? I don't want to leave Goddess alone for too long. Indeed. Castor nodded as he rolled up his notes and placed them into a pocket of Archer's bag. I would rather not return to a crying goddess screaming to the heavens about her solitude. We will have both you and Arde fight one orc alone and then return. Yes. The two of them replied dutifully. As if the dungeon was answering their wishes, the moment they descended to the 10th floor, cracks start forming in the dungeon wall as various body parts of monsters start forcing their way out of them. It's a monster party, Lily shouted as a small force of monsters dropped down in front of them. A monster party was when a large amount of monsters were born in the dungeon at once. It was thought to happen whenever the number of monsters on the floor was low, so the dungeon decides to spawn more to replenish the numbers in mass. Arde, take the rear, Castor said calmly. Archer, Cranel, remain in the front. Fortunately for us, there are two orcs in the midst. He then opened his stone tablet and glanced at the two orcs. Golden light constricted around them, restraining their movements in a flash. Arde, focus on the bats above us. Cranel, the imps, I give you free rein with your magic. Archer, do as you wish. Yes. Lily and Bell nodded while Archer merely nodded as he formed his bow and several arrows. The battle was both chaotic yet organized. Small bolts, silver arrows and red flames flashed all across the battlefield with the occasional burst of yellow light. Once an imp had jumped at Castor from behind only for the man to lazily lean his head to the side as a blast of flame shot past him and struck the monster, which was then followed by a quick apology from Bell. Lily nimbly had her dagger in a reverse grip in one hand while skillfully loading bolts into her crossbow with the same hand as she stood behind Castor and shot down any bat that got near him to try and screech at him, while Archer covered Bell with a blanket of arrows to keep the boy from getting mobbed but not killing any of them so that Bell could gain the Exelia from delivering the final blow. Finally, only the two immobilized orcs remained. Lily dropped her pack and readied her crossbow and knife while Bell quickly got into position as the golden light died down. The two charged forward as the orcs squealed in anger. Lily let a bolt fly and struck the orc in front of her in the hand. She clicked of her tongue as she loaded another bolt and quickly jumped to the side as the orc slammed the ground where she was standing. She then fired another shot into the monster's leg and sent it to the ground. She then mounted the downed monster from behind and jammed the dagger into the side of the orc's neck, causing it to let out a gargling noise and flail weakly before falling limp. Bell reached his orc before Lily's first bolt hit, slashing at the orc's arm before it could react, and then held his hand out to it. Firebolt! A wave of crimson lightning lashed out over the orc's back, setting the monster on fire as it squealed out in pain and fell forward as a charred corpse. Master Bell is so mean, Lily complained. He makes Lily's hard work look like nothing. Ahaha, I'm sorry, Bell said quietly as Lily walked over and pounded on his breastplate with puffed-up cheeks. Now, both of you did well, Archer said, pulling Lily away from Bell as she crossed her arms and turned away from Bell in a huff. Come now, Lily. You did well considering your position, Castor said to Lily, who stopped pouting and started smiling. Once we retrieve the magic stones, we will return to the surface. Yes, Lily nodded as she started to get to work. She's like a little puppy eager for your praise, Archer noted to Castor, who huffed. The king's praise is one of the world's greatest treasures, Castor said. It is only natural for a former thief to work hard to obtain as much of it as possible. Humph! Archer made a noncommittal noise and turned to look at Bell, who was helping Lily stack the bodies together so she could work more efficiently. What do you think? think he could handle another servant. No, Castor said after a moment. Now that he has another magic spell, I am more adamant on him waiting until he levels up before summoning another one. It is another powerful tool at his disposal, and summoning another servant would cripple the tool's utility at this point in time. Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Archer said as Lily waved Bell away, saying that he didn't need to help with her job. He could fire several spells off without rest right now. We still have 2 mind potions after all of this. If he were to summon another servant, then it might limit him to only a dozen or so. Indeed, Castor nodded as he looked around and saw a few other parties coming down from the 9th floor. However, the boy's growth is unnatural. Only a few days ago, he was floundering around to take down a pair of kobolds on the 3rd floor. Now he can devastate a dozen imps on his own. It is like walking away from a potted sprout for an afternoon and coming back to see that a rose has already bloomed. Got a point there, Archer admitted as he leaned back against a tree. Hard to believe he's a 14-year-old kid. Graced by a goddess or not. Master Archer, Lord Castor, Lily has finished, Lily said as she and Bell ran back to them with a bag filled with magic stones. Very well, Castor said as he turned toward the exit. Then let us return to the surface. The trip back up was rather uneventful with only some token resistance here and there, but when they exited Babel, night had already fallen on the city. We should hurry home, Archer said. Lady Hestia's probably back already. We can exchange the stones in the morning. Good idea, Bell nodded. Now that we're back out, I feel really tired. Lily wants a bath and maybe a light dinner before bed. Lily chimed in. Maybe take out from the pub if Master Archer is too tired to cook? Don't worry, Archer said. Compared to you and Bell, I didn't do anything. Maybe a sandwich and some soup. That sounds really good right about now, Bell nodded. All right, I'll bring it up to your rooms when done. When we get back, say good evening to Hestia, then head upstairs to wash up. Yes, Mama, Lily said with a smile as Archer rolled his eyes at her. At least make it Papa. But Master Archer is more like a mama than a papa. Bell was really happy. Gone were the days of having nothing but leftover potato puffs from Hestia's stall as their only meals, and now they had decent meals thanks to Castor's constant trips to the business district's casinos and Bell being able to go further into the dungeon to claim more valuable magic stones with the help of Archer and Lily. Bell suddenly stopped walking as a cold chill wrapped itself around his body only for it to suddenly vanish as soon as it arrived. He looked around for what might have been the cause. Turning around, he saw that Castor has stopped as well and was glaring back up at the Babel Tower with his dark red eyes. Your Majesty? Bell asked. Is there something wrong? It is none of your concern just yet, Castor said as he turned around and continued walking. Get a good night's sleep and prepare yourself. You will continue your spar with Archer in the morning and then return to the dungeon once more. Understood. Bell nodded dutifully as he ran to catch up to his familia members, the cold chill completely forgotten. When they finally arrived back at the Hestia Familia home, they were greeted by a sobbing goddess. I missed you all so much, Hestia said as she dived at Bell, who dodged her by reflex and hugged Archer's legs instead. I was so used to seeing one of you around when I got back that coming home to a big empty house is so sad. That is your duty as a goddess, Castor said unsympathetically as he walked past her and Archer. As a goddess, you are to put your faith and trust in your children that they will come home from the dungeon. I know that, Hestia said as she finally released Archer, who quickly dusted his pants off. It's just that this house is too big for a single person alone at any point in time. Hearing my footsteps echo in the empty halls is too lonely. Castor let out a long sigh as they entered the house. Have no fear, I shall be working from the home for the next few days, Castor said. Arde's passive skill is enough for her to provide more support for Cranel in the dungeon, and the active component is merely a bonus. Yay, you're the best, Gil, Hestia said with a smile. I told you not to call me that. Lady Hestia is so different from Lord Soma that it almost bothers Lily, Lily said as she shook her head. But Lily prefers this. It is much warmer. I know, right? Bell asked with a chuckle. And thus ended another day for the Hestia Familia. Chapter 9, Job Offerings. The next morning, after their usual spar, Bell led Lily and Archer to the Blue Pharmacy to restock on their spent potions. Good morning, Bell called out. Is anyone here? Good morning, Bell. Naz's tired-sounding voice appeared from behind the counter as per usual. Here to restock? Yes, Bell nodded. We used up a lot yesterday. Oh, and some more mind potions as well. Oh, good morning, Bell. As Naza pulled out a case of potions, a man with long blue hair wearing some rather patched and frayed robes stepped out from the back as well. The man had a presence similar to that of Hestia, meaning that he was also a god, most likely Mayak himself. Good morning, Lord Mayak, Bell greeted with a quick bow as Lily and Archer did the same. So these must be the new members Hestia was telling me about. Mayak said as he looked over Lily and Archer. Pleased to meet you. Lily is honored to meet Lord Mayak, Lily said. Likewise, Archer nodded. Take good care of Bell, all right? Mayak said with a friendly smile. He's a good customer and Hestia particularly adores him, so it'd break her heart if he got hurt. We noticed. Archer and Lily reply at the same time, causing Bell to blush and squirm a bit. Here we go, Naza said as she packaged the potions. Is this enough? Yes, that is enough. Lily nodded as she held out the money to pay for them. As she took the bag, however, Foo-h-h-h-h-h-h-a. I'm coming in. The room shakes with a roar of laughter, and as the door is kicked off its hinges. You got my money for this month, I-h? A middle-aged god with graying hair and a beard wearing a white robe with intricate gold embroidery appeared in the doorway. Behind him stood a shorter girl around 150 centimeters tall, wearing a white and blue uniform complete with a tiny hat on her head. Dian, Mayak muttered with a rather bitter expression on his face. I dragged myself all the way out here, 'cause you never showed up. Be grateful. You ruined beggar. Wahahahaha. The other god let out another laugh. In a bad way, the god reminded Bell of Castor in the way he laughed arrogantly at seemingly everything. Not that Bell would ever say that to the king's face. That's Dian's sect, Lily whispered to Bell, who nodded in understanding. I see your shop is just as dusty as always. Gotta make this a quick visit. Being here too long's gonna make me sick. Oh, I see misery loves company. Hosting some more beggars so you won't get lonely? Dian's sect asked as he glanced over toward the Hestia Familia before promptly dismissing them and turning back to Mayak. Well, Mayak, where's my money? It's Mayak began but was cut off with another laugh. Guess you still don't have it even after I gave you an extension after the last extension. Dian Chet shouted. But I'm all out of goodwill. Have the money by tomorrow or I'll take your home to cover your debt. With that, the older god let out another barking laugh, sending spit flying everywhere before leaving with his Familia member as abruptly as he appeared. What was that about? Bell asked. That was Lord Dian's sect, right? Yes, Mayak replied with a long sigh. The two of us don't get along with each other even in Tenkai. It only got worse when we came down to the lower world and set up rival business, but then I ruined everything. Naza jumped in when Mayaka's voice trailed off, prompting Bell and Lily to share a glance, recalling the rumor they discussed yesterday. I also used to go into the dungeon like all of you, until I messed up, got beaten by a monster, and had my right arm eaten by it. Somewhere along the line, Archer had placed his hands on both Lily and Bell's shoulders, after hearing what happened to Naza. His grip tightened, causing the two to wince a bit, prompting him to quickly ease up as Naza rolled up her right sleeve that was longer than her left, revealing a completely silver arm made of smooth metal that seemed to act just like a regular arm. A prosthetic, Archer noted, and Naza nodded. Lord Mayak got it for me after I lost my real one. It's from that Dian sect Familia. He practically begged them. Aside from selling potions, they also take custom orders from adventurers and make special items to help their customers. This Ergetlam, or silver arm, is one of them. With a faint clicking noise, Naza flexes her steel arm and fingers to show them how it worked. Is that why there are no other members here? Lily asked, looking around the dark store. Yes, Mayak nodded. Everyone left after I took out a loan for the arm. They had every right to since I didn't tell anyone about it and I didn't stop them. Only Naza stayed behind. Me and a massive loan. Naza growled, her voice filled with self-loathing. I can't even fight monsters anymore. I just freeze up, so all I can do is help make potions after spending 6 years to reach level 2 and getting the synthesis development ability. Eh? You're level 2? Bell shouted in surprise. I never realized that. As I said, it doesn't matter. I can't fight monsters anymore, so it's useless on me. Everything we owe to that stuck-up moron is my fault. Naza. Naza looked like she was going to continue berating herself, but Mayak silenced her by simply calling out her name. A heavy silence fills the room as Bell turned around to look at Archer, who was looking at the god with a hand on his chin. Then, Archer asked, "What are you going to do now?" From the sound of things, this loan isn't something that 1 or 2 people can come up with overnight. Bell wondered if Castor was able to help, but it sounded as though he was done using his treasures for other people after what Hestia asked him to do. His knife still felt amazingly heavy after hearing its price tag. We do have one idea, Naza admitted as she and Mayak shared a glance. But you're right. It's impossible with just the 2 of us. I see. Archer nodded as he picked up the bag of potions that had almost been left forgotten on the counter. Then I hope you find a solution soon. Eh? Bell had thought that Archer had come up with a way to help them, but it looked as though he had no idea what to do. By the way, Lily, Archer began, changing the subject for a moment. Is there any other way for adventurers to make money quickly? I'm tired of relying on Castor's money for nearly everything. Like, say, does the guild have bounties or something? Lily blinked a few times in confusion at the shift in topic before her eyes widened as she stared at Archer. Yes, she replied with a nod. Sometimes people put out quests to the guild. Basically, these are requests for adventurers to keep an eye out for items while they explore the dungeon that the requester or client isn't strong enough to get for themselves. The client then prepares a reward for the items, and the adventurer collects it after the quest is complete. Heh, that sounds convenient. Archer nodded as Naza and Mayak bounced their gazes back from Lily and Archer. I wonder if there's a way we can get one suited for Bell's level. Understanding what they were saying, Bell chimed in. Hey, Lord Mayak Naza, he said quickly. Do you happen to know anyone who might have a quest for us? Or rather, maybe you have one for us right now. He wasn't exactly proud of his acting skills, but right now he didn't care. You three, Mayak began, as if he could barely believe his ears. Why yes, Naza said quickly. We do have a quest. Two of them actually. Mayak looked at Naza as she returned his gaze again, to which he nodded. The first one is rather simple, Mayak began. Though its difficulty is only due to the fact that it's a rare monster on floor 7. When Lord Mayak says rare monster, then it's that, right? Lily asked. A blue papillon? Yes. The god nodded. Basically we need its drop item, blue papillon wings. As much of them as possible. Lily understands. Lily nodded. Blue papillons are the opposite of the regular ones who spread poisonous powder from their wings, and instead spread a healing powder, right? I see. That definitely would work well in a potion then, probably, Bell said with a smile. Then the second one? Eggs of a bloodsaurus, Naza replied, causing Lily to pale in fear. Bee bloodsaurus? Lily repeated. Those monsters appear on the 30th floor. There's no way we can get those. Even if we could, it would take well over a day to even reach that floor. No, don't worry about that, Miss Lily, Mayak replied. There's actually a nest of them up here on the surface. That's even worse. Isn't that bad? Archer asked, placing a hand on Lily's head to calm her down. There's no worry, Naza replied. You should have learned it from the guild, right? Monsters on the surface are much weaker than the ones in the dungeon. Their magic stones are so small they might as well not be there. At best, an orc from the 11th floor could give it a run for its money. Then I'll handle that one, Archer said as he turned around to look at the pack on his back. How big are these eggs? Would they fit in this thing? Huh? You plan on going by yourself? Mayak asked. If they really are about as strong as an orc, then I will have no trouble with them, Archer replied. If they're beyond me, then I can get away easier on my own. Well, if you insist, Mayak said. In that case, you can find them in the deep forest Sioro near the Alb mountain range east of Ororio. I suspect there wouldn't be more than a dozen or so eggs. Again, I only need as much as you can carry. Oh, and if possible, don't kill them all. Got it, Archer nodded. Should probably find a cart. Then we'll handle the blue papillons, Bell said as Lily nodded behind him. Lily has an idea, Lily said, thrusting her hand up into the air. Come on, Master Bell. Lily needs to buy something. Ah, wait, Lily, you don't need to pull. And with that, Lily dragged Bell out of the shop. Then, please excuse me, Lord Mayak, Miss Naza. With a polite bow, Archer also took his leave. Thanks again, Mayak said as he waved after him. Good luck, Naza called out after him as well. After getting a map from the guild and renting a cart from the gates, Archer was on his way to the forest indicated by Mayak and Naza. Bloodsaurus. Archer repeated the name of the monster. From its name, is it a dinosaur? Although Archer would never admit to it out loud, the thought of seeing a real live dinosaur made him feel a bit giddy. For some reason, compared to dragons which he knew existed both in the deep floors of the dungeon and scattered across the surface, the biggest of which being the one-eyed black dragon, a dinosaur seemed so much more novel. Tying the cart at the edge of the forest, Archer grabbed an empty bag and slowly made his way into the woods. Almost immediately, the surroundings go dark. Each tree in this forest seemed to stretch several meters into the sky, and their leaves covered everything in almost total darkness, with only small beams of sunlight making its way through as the floor was covered in vibrantly colored wildflowers and dark moss. One would have to be insane to come here in this wild land at night without preparations. Taking to the trees, Archer made his way through the forest without any problem, avoiding the smaller monsters that made their home. Finally, he spotted a wide depression in the ground. Footprint. Stopping on his current perch, Archer's eyes scanned the forest until, bingo! In the distance he could spot 3 5-meter-tall monsters looking through the trees as if sensing an intruder. Blood red in color to match their name, the monster stood on 2 legs with 3 jagged toes and had 2 stubby little arms with 2 fingers for hands. Its massive sharp teeth poked out of its mouth, showing that it was indeed a carnivore. It's like meeting a real-life T-Rex, Archer said, a smile creeping onto his face before he quickly shook his head. No. Remember why you're here. Although Mayak asked him not to kill all of them, Archer was sure that just these 3 wouldn't affect the population at all. Of course, as they were standing around their eggs, he couldn't risk them trampling over them, so just killing them where they stood was out of the question. He also couldn't dematerialize, as he wouldn't be able to pick up the eggs or his backpack if he did. Then, the only path left was to lure them out with force. Since they are only on the level of orcs, there was no need to create anything special. Just the usual arrows should do the trick. With bow in hand, Archer closed the distance until he was just in range of their vision. The trio of monsters looked up at him just as he pulled back on his bow. The silver arrow zipped through the air and tore through the bloodsaurus closest to him like its body was made out of paper. In a shower of gore and blood, the monster fell over, rocking the entire forest. It looked as though Naza was right. Monsters on the surface were all mass and no power. It certainly would explain why it was considered amazing to get even to level 2 outside of the dungeon when a surface equivalent of a floor 30 monster was only as strong a floor 10 monster. Then again, getting to level 2 was a massive achievement just inside Orario already. The 2 remaining bloodsaurus roared as they charged at Archer in a blind rage. 2 more arrows and 2 more dead monsters. Frankly, it was rather anticlimactic. He had hoped to have had a chance to ride one or at least have them put up more of a fight, but it was like facing the last boss of a video game only to see that it was level 1 when you were level 100. Well, if it's easy then it's easy. Archer sighed as he jumped onto the ground and walked past the corpses. Wonder if removing the magic stone would cause them to disintegrate as well when they were born from eggs rather than the dungeon. Questions for another time. Moving past the corpses, Archer found a slope and came across a nest situated between 2 trees. Like Mayak said, there were about a dozen or so eggs here. Glancing at his bag and then at the eggs, Archer let out another sigh. Guess I'll need multiple trips. You really managed to get them, Mayak said as he stared at the 5 blue papillon wings and a dozen bloodsaurus eggs in front of them. It was simple, Lily said. Master Bell and Lily just waited until 4 of them showed up at a pantry. Then we followed them away and took them down before they knew what was going on. As for me, I found a nest without any parents standing over it. Archer shrugged. Technically wasn't a lie. The 3 bloodsaurus were standing over the nest but around it. Thank you, Naza said as her tail wagged back and forth beneath her long skirt. With this we can make our new potion. What kind of potion is it? Bell asked. It's a potion that should be able to heal the body and the mind, Mayak replied with a smile. We'll do our best to finish it up by then, so drop by in the morning, and we'll save a sample for you as your reward. A double mind and body potion? Lily asked. Lily has never heard of such a thing before. Wouldn't that be extremely valuable? Well, it's going to help pay off our debt, so yes, Naza nodded. But it's thanks to the 3 of you we got so many ingredients. Enough to get a discount on future orders? Lily asked with a smile. Mayak opened his mouth to respond for a small thud to sound out from under the counter and for the god to wince in pain. Ow ow ow. Sorry, that's not part of the quest rewards, Mayak said with a wry smile as Lily let out a small boo in disappointment. For now, please accept these regular potions before the double one. Thank you, Bell said as he accepted them. We'll be good for a few days with this. Please come again, Naza said with a small smile as the 3 of them said their goodbyes and left with the reward and the satisfaction of completely their first quest as a familia. Welcome back. When the 3 of them returned home, Castor and Hestia greeted them at the door. Well, how was your day? Hestia asked. We helped the Mayak familia by completing some quests, Bell replied. Mayak, huh? I heard he was having some trouble with Yen sect, but it's good to hear that you're helping him out. I trust you have been compensated for your efforts? Castor asked. Yes, Lily nodded. 20 regular potions and 5 mind potions on top of what we bought earlier this morning. Also, Lord Mayak promised a sample of their new potion that should heal both the mind and body. Ho, now that is an interesting concoction. We should hope that they are as good as they claim to be then. Have you had dinner yet? Archer asked Hestia. Not yet, Hestia replied, shaking her head. I know you're probably tired, but dash. No worries. I can get started as soon as I dash. Archer's words were interrupted as the bell from the front gate rang. As one, they all shared a glance. Did you invite some guests over, goddess? Bell asked and Hestia shook her head. If I did, I wouldn't have invited them over in the middle of the night, Hestia pointed out. Castor turned toward Archer and jerked his head toward the front, and the servant nodded before hurrying back outside while they waited in the foyer. Yo, Hestia. It's been a while. The visitor was a god, that much was certain. An orange-haired god with perfect features to match his status, though much more effeminate looking than both Archer and Castor. Hermes. Hestia spoke the identity of the god for the sake of her familia. What do you want so late at night? Sorry for the late visit, Hermes said with a smile and an apologetic look to Hestia. But I have a package and a letter for you. Placing down his pack, Hermes pulled out a box and a letter. All right, the first one is for a Lilaruka Arde, Hermes said as held out the box. Then he tapped the letter. And the letter is for, and I quote, the captain of the Hestia Familia. Lily is here, Lily said, picking up the box and turned it over in her hands in confusion. I will take the letter, Gilgamesh said as Hermes handed the letter over to him. All right, delivery complete, Hermes said with a satisfied smile. Phew, I certainly didn't expect this kind of delivery. I mean, who would have thought both Soma and Loki Familia would want something to be delivered to your little Familia, Hestia? Well then, good night. And with that, the messenger god left as quickly as he came, leaving Lily to stare at the box as if it was some kind of bomb while Castor looked over the letter with curiosity. With the suddenness of delivery, they convened in the dining area for a meeting saved for Archer, who was preparing them a late-night snack in the kitchen area, but he could still hear and participate in the discussion from there. First off, let us get the bigger problem over with, Castor said as he turned to Lily. Open it. Yes. Lily nodded as she carefully broke the seal and lifted the cover off the box to reveal a bottle of Soma wine. Lily knew it. Maybe Lord Soma is trying to make amends? Archer asked. You drank the Soma wine and didn't lose yourself to it, so he considered it an appropriate gift? Or rather, how much does that cost? Bell asked, his body shaking slightly. The failure was worth 60,000 Valis, right? Lily accepts Lord Soma's apology. But Lily doesn't want the wine. Lily doesn't care how much she can sell it for. So Lily humbly offers it to her king as tribute. Lily spoke in a quick and rapid tone as she pulled the bottle out and placed it in front of Castor with shaking hands and with her face and arms flat on the table. Castor paused a moment before speaking as his eyes went from Lily to the bottle of Soma wine in front of him. That is a gift to you from a god, Castor said, placing a finger on the top of the bottle. And while this is more than worthy enough to be a part of my treasury, it is not mine to accept. But, Lily mumbled as she lifted her head up and looked at Castor. Lily doesn't want anything to do with Lord Soma anymore. Castor's eyes bored into Lily's before he let out another sigh. Very well, I shall hold on to it for you, Castor said as Lily let out a long sigh of relief. But only until you come of age. Then, we shall open it and drink to celebrate your first steps into adulthood. Lily looked less than happy that she wasn't completely getting away from what she no doubt considered accursed wine, but she didn't say anything as she sat back up straight and nodded. All right. Now what does that idiot Loki want? Hestia asked as Archer set a plate of sandwiches in front of everyone before sitting down properly at the table. Castor opened up the letter and read through it, his eyes moving side to side silently before a frown appeared on his face. It is a notice and a request, he said. Loki Familia is planning an expedition to the lower floors of the dungeon. Ah, that, Hestia nodded. Loki's captain has gotten rather ambitious lately. He plans these expeditions every now and again, and their Familia make deep dives into the dungeon that last for weeks. But what does that have to do with us? It says that they were forced to abandon their previous expedition when they ran into monsters that spewed out an acidic substance that melted their weapons, and they were forced back up to the surface. To mitigate this, they hope to hire Archer alongside a number of Hephaestos high smiths to repair and maintain their weapons, and for Archer to create replicas of their weapons, as well as magic swords to help push through them. I see, Archer muttered while Hestia was fuming. They want to take a level 1 all the way down to the lower floors? She shouted, completely ignoring that Archer was not a normal level 1. No way, no how, forget it. She can kiss the bottom of my shoes. You're not wearing any shoes right now, goddess? Bell pointed out. Not the point. They wish to discuss it tomorrow, Castor said as he tossed the letter onto the table. As they are the ones requesting assistance, they will meet us here. We don't even get a say in it, huh? Hestia growled as she slammed her hands on the table. Archer, shoot them down right away. With words, right? Bell asked. I don't care. Castor turned to Archer to ask for his input since the request was for him after all. To be honest, I want to help, Archer admitted. If the plant monster that appeared the other day was anything like the kind of monsters that appear on the lower floors, then I'm sure they need every advantage that they can get. However, he turned to Lily and Bell. I am not comfortable in leaving you two alone in the dungeon for a week or two. Not that I don't think you can handle it, but I would simply worry because I am a worrywart. Lily knew Master Archer is like a mama, Lily teased as Archer simply grunted, unable to say anything against it. Master Archer doesn't have to worry though. Lily survived for a long in the dungeon by herself. She can look after Master Bell and herself without any problems. They will have to stretch their wings without their mother hen watching over them eventually, Castor said, getting in on the fun although he kept his face neutral. Let us hear the details tomorrow before deciding. Meanwhile, he turned to Bell. Once you finish your morning training, you and Arde shall head into the dungeon. He then turned to Lily. You are to use your judgment. I want you to reach the 10th floor but go no further. If you feel as though you cannot make it, do not overextend and return immediately. Yes, the two of them nod in unison again. Murger! Hestia let out another growl before sighing and sliding face first onto the table. I don't want anything to do with Loki, but if you want to do it Shiro, then I won't stop you. Archer rocked side to side in his chair for a moment at the use of his old name, telling him that Hestia is definitely not happy about this, but he wasn't going to refuse outright without hearing Loki Familia's side properly. Lily looked confused at the unknown name, but a quick whisper from Bell, and she nodded her head in understanding. She then whispered something about Gil to Bell, and Bell turned his eyes at Castor while Lily nodded again. The next morning, after being smacked around by Archer for an hour, Bell and Lily headed to the dungeon completely outfitted while Hestia, Castor and Archer awaited the arrival of Loki Familia. Why do we have to listen to that flat-chested joker anyway? Hestia grumbled as they waited in the living room with Hestia sitting in a blue armchair while Castor took an entire couch for himself and Archer simply leaned against a wall as usual. You're too nice for your own good, Archer. If someone is in trouble, isn't it only right to help them? Archer asked back as Hestia mumbled something under her breath. When are they even getting here anyway? Hestia asked as she shook her head. Her answer came with the doorbell ring with Archer pushing himself off the wall to welcome them in. A moment later, Archer came back with Loki leading a blonde Paolum, a green-haired elf, Tiona and Ace taking up the rear. Quite a show of strength against our small familia, Castor noted to the Loki Familia captain, Finn Dame. My apologies, Finn replied with a wry smile. I had initially only planned to take Tiona with me, but Loki decided to tag along, and we needed more Minders. Hey Goldie, been a while, Loki said with a smile. Goddess Loki. Castor nodded before turning to the others to acknowledge them before turning back to Finn. Then let us get straight to business. This familia is still small and not as well off as your own, so cannot afford to take too much time off. Haha, very well. Finn nodded as he and Loki sat down at the sofa across from Castor at his gesture. Simply put, we wish to borrow Archer's magic for our expedition. Ho! Is an expedition so trivial that a level 1's magic can actually make that much of a difference? That is what we hope to discern. Unfortunately, we have little reason to divulge our familia's secrets to the familia of a goddess that is at odds with our own. That's right, so clear out, Hestia shouted, one foot on the table as she pointed toward the door. Ah, come now, Chibi, Loki said. At least hear us out over some tea? Tea is for guests, not for people who invite themselves over at their own convenience. Moving on, Castor said with a cough into his hand. Is there any particular reason for this expedition? Did you not return from one just recently? Well, yes, Finn nodded. But there was a lead to something we were investigating, and there is supposed to be a clue on the 59th floor. A clue? Huh? Castor muttered as he moved his arm, and a portal appeared by his side where he stuck his hand into it. Would it happen to involve this? And he pulled out the magic stone left behind by one of the plant monsters. Well, now you figured it out, Finn said with a smile. It is not particularly difficult, Castor said as he tossed the stone toward Finn, who caught it. But what is in it for Loki Familia to investigate such matters? Well, they seem to be bringing up monsters from the lower levels up to the surface, Loki pointed out. Isn't that enough cause for concern? I suppose so, Castor said, sounding uninterested. But then we are drifting from the original topic. Why do you assume that Archer's magic will be of any assistance to you? Archer was able to create an exact, or at the very least, close enough replica to a sword that Ace only had for 5 days and seconds, Finn said as he turned toward Archer. And he was able to hold his own rather well against those monsters despite supposedly being only level 1. Supposedly nothing, Hestia said, slamming her hand on the table. He received the grace only a few days before Monsterphilia. He can only be a level 1. We're not hiding anything from the guild. My apologies, Lady Hestia, Finn said quickly as he held up his hands. I did not mean to imply as such. Hey, Archer, Tiona spoke up as she unwrapped the massive piece of cloth she had been holding onto. Do you think you can make a copy of this? It was a massive double-bladed sword that was made out of some extremely high-quality metal. Archer glanced toward it and a pained expression appeared on his face. Ah, no good, Tiona asked. No, it's not that, Archer said as he held his hand out to the side. I'm just feeling the pain that those poor blacksmiths must have felt making that thing as well as all the repairs they had to do. Tresa. Lightning surged down Archer's arm as something began to take form in his hand. Judging the concept of creation. Hypothesizing the basic structure, duplicating the composition material, imitating the skill of its making. sympathizing with the experience of its growth, reproducing the accumulated years, excelling every manufacturing process. At those last words, what looked like an exact duplicate of Urga appeared in Archer's hand, causing Tiona to cheer happily while Riveria, Finn, and Loki looked rather shocked at it. Tiona then gave her Urga for Ace to carry as she walked over and took the one from Archer's hand. "Whoa! It looks just like it," she said. Did some slow and careful swings as to not hit anyone or break anything. "I wonder if it's as strong as the real one though." "Please do not hit the blades against each other," Riveria said quickly. "You do not want to get on Goibniu's bad side even more." "Well, looks like that answers that question," Finn noted. "So it seems," Castor replied with a frown. "But have you not commissioned Hephaestos Familia for weapons with the unbreakable Durandal trait already? Durandal weapons can still dull even if they can't chip," Finn replied as the Urga in Tiona's hands vanished when Archer held his hand out toward it, causing the Amazon to pout. "By having a source for instant weapons with quality anywhere close to our original ones would be a massive boon for us." "Very well, then I shall ask one more thing," Castor said. "What is in it for us? As I said, we only have 4 people in our familia. Archer is the familia's veteran frontliner and is watching over the other two's progress as they enter the dungeon. It would be a heavy blow to our finances if we were to lose him for even a week. Would a percentage of the drop items and magic stones cut it?" Finn offered. "Compared to the upper levels, the magic stones on the lower levels are much more valuable. A single stone can go up to tens of thousands of valis. And with the increase in reward comes with an increase of risks," Castor pointed out as he leaned back in his seat. "But I suppose this will be a good opportunity to raise your status, Archer. What is your answer? Leave Cranel and Arde alone to their own devices for a while and go on the expedition? Or refuse and keep watch over their growth?" "I agree to those terms," Archer said as he clasped his hands behind his back. "To be honest, I've been feeling like I haven't been contributing much of anything in terms of valis. This could be a chance for me to stop relying on you to pay for everything. It is a king's duty to manage the finances of his kingdom," Castor said with a smirk as he waved a hand lazily at Archer, who simply grunted. "There's no need to worry yourself over trivial things. I refuse to be indebted to you any further than I am now," Archer said simply as Castor simply laughed it off. "All right," Loki said as she clapped her hands. "Now that the important stuff's out of the way, how about we relax with a drink? Think you can share some of your stash, Goldie?" "Unfortunately, it is my policy not to hand out a gift to the same person twice," Castor said as he glanced at Hestia. "And I believe you have worn out Goddess Hestia's welcome." "Darn right you have," Hestia shouted. "If you're done then get lost. Then please show this pass to the Loki Familia home and you'll be let in," Finn said as he tossed a token at Archer, who snatched it out of the air. There was a depiction of the Loki Familia's emblem on it, a cross-legged joker with a card behind it. "All right, about what time should I head over?" Archer asked. "Well, we still have some things to handle on our end," Finn said. "If you can come over tomorrow at noon, that would be great. Putting this aside right now, is it all right to let someone outside the Familia to enter the home? I trust that you'll be professional when on the job," Finn said, his smile not leaving his face. Understood." Archer nodded as he extended his hand to the Palum, who took it without hesitation. "A pleasure to be working with you, although I don't know how much help I'll be." "No worries. I think you'll be able to help out immensely when the time comes. You didn't lose your head when fighting the plant monsters the other day and even dived in to successfully help Lafia and Ace. I know you won't be a burden. I will do my best not to fail those expectations then." And with that, the Loki Familia left, with Riveria dragging a depressed Loki who failed to get more wine from Castor. "Just remember one thing, Archer," Castor said. "You are a member of Hestia Familia, not Loki Familia. Your duty is to return from the expedition alive, not to die trying to play the hero as you please." "Your concern is noted, O King of Heroes," Archer replied with a shrug. "Archer," Hestia cut in with a shout as she ran up to Archer and looked up at him. "Please, come back. Okay? Don't die down there since Loki's children definitely won't care to bring you back. Okay?" Archer's reply was quick and simple. "I promise." Chapter 10, False Swords. Lily does think that going on the expedition is a good idea. It was evening and both Belle and Lily had returned from the dungeon safely and without any notable injuries. "So you've been saying all dinner," Archer said as he held out his hand to her and she handed him her empty plate for seconds. "Lily is serious," Lily said as she took back her now full soup bowl. "Lily has heard horror stories about the lower levels. Lily has heard that there are dragons that breathes fire so powerful that they attack adventurers from an entire floor below." "You mean like if they're on the 14th floor they can shoot up and through to the 13th floor? Belle asked as he swallowed some bread. "Yes, but Lily thinks they're on the lower 50s. 58, Lily recalls. Moo. Let's cancel it after all, Hestia said, shaking with worry. It's far too late for that, Castor said as he sipped his drink. Did I not tell you already? A goddess's duty is to wait and trust her children to come home. I know, but I can't help but worry about my children, Hestia said as she slumped down on the table. Especially one going with that Loki of all people. Don't let them steal you away from me. Okay, fight your way out if need be. You don't have to worry about me, Lady Hestia, Archer replied. I won't leave this familia willingly. If anyone has to be worried of being snatched away, it would have to be that fool next to you. Castor spoke up and glanced toward Bell, who simply looked confused. How do you mean? He asked. Ah, Lily understands. Lily nods. Master Bell's growth is abnormal, so any god would be interested if they know about it. Ah! Bell nodded, finally getting it. Don't worry, goddess. I won't go to any other familia so long as you're here. After all, you're the only one who would accept me into their familia in the first place. Bell. Hestia looked at Bell with tear welling up in her eyes. She then starts bawling. You're such a good kid, Bell. Goddess wa. Hestia then jumped over and started hugging Bell tightly. Lady Hestia is really clingy today, Lily pointed out. She's always clingy when it comes to Bell though, Archer pointed out, and Lily agreed with a nod. That is not necessarily a good thing, Castor noted. Those who are loved by the gods always meet with a cruel fate sooner or later. If you're jealous of Bell, you only need to say so, Archer said with a smirk. As if, Castor growled before taking a sip of wine. It's like they're siblings, Archer noted. They better stay only siblings. Hestia mumbled from the behind Archer, and he turned to see her resting her head on the windowsill. I'm the only one for Bell. Yes, as you say, Archer said with disinterest as he ran a wet towel across his face. Do you think Bell is really going to get better like that? Hestia asked. He is getting better, Archer pointed out. He's reading my openings better. He's lasting longer each round. He's also incorporating punches and kicks into his attacks. And it's much safer than fighting a monster since I won't kill him even by mistake. I guess I don't like it because it looks like one of my older children is bullying my youngest, Hestia said as she let out a long sigh. I'm not bullying him, Archer said irritatedly. He wants to train like this just as much as Castor wants him to wait. Youngest? Bell is younger than Lily. You shouldn't judge a Palam's age just from their size. Shiro, Hestia teased with a smirk. It's only by a few months, but Lily is indeed older than Bell. She's 15 and he's 14. That's surprising, Archer said honestly as he folded his arms and cocked his head to the side. By the way, changing topics for a moment, is there anything you want for lunch? I'll make it before I leave for Loki Familia. Don't remind me about that, Hestia said as she waved her hand back and forth lazily. Something that can be heated up easily will be fine. How about that instant rice soup that you guys had in the dungeon? Since I don't want Castor to work through lunch without something to eat as well. Even if you guys don't need food to survive, I can at least make sure you eat on time, since it's about all I can do to help you. Archer looked at Hestia's warm and bright smile before letting out a sigh. Really, you're the one Lily should be calling Mama, not me, he said with a laugh. All right, I'll prepare some fried rice balls. Just pour hot water over them and they'll be ready. Just don't burn down the house. Oh, come on, Hestia shouted, all trace of her previous dignity vanishing in an instant. It was one time. After finishing cooking, Archer left the house with a bag of the fried rice balls hanging from his waist and the Loki Familia pass in his pocket. The Loki Familia home wasn't hard to find. Everyone knew where it was, being one of the top 3 familias in Orio after all. It was more or less a giant castle situated in the city, making Archer wonder just how much tax they had to pay to the guild every month. Although it wasn't as though the familia couldn't afford it due to their massive amount of members. He showed the token to a guard at the front gate and was led to a large yard where various members of the familia were running around preparing supplies. Oh, you're the one, huh? Archer saw a man that could basically be described as a short and stout wall of muscle. A dwarf with a rather scraggy-looking beard that radiated strength from his very being. Gareth Landrock, I presume? Archer asked. That's right, Gareth nodded, extending a strong hand toward Archer, who shook it. And you must be Tiona's sword copier. I can do axes too, Archer said, noticing one resting against the wall from the direction Gareth had walked over from. Ha, is that right? Gareth asked. You're one with a lot of talents then. Not at all. Just one single talent that I can do very, very well. Good to hear. I'll be honest, if you can help us out, you'd be saving us a lot of money and be keeping a lot of our youngsters safe. Anyway, since our captain's off fooling around in the dungeon for a bit, I'll be working with you for today. Gareth led Archer into a large tent as several people were glancing over, curious as to why Gareth was leading an outsider around. What do you make of these? Gareth asked, showing Archer a table of rather colorful-looking daggers. These are, Archer muttered as he glanced over the daggers. Magic swords. Swords that have magic spells built inside them, right? Oh, you've seen one before? Gareth asked, impressed. I thought you were from a new familia? We are. But our supporter saved a lot of money before joining us and has one on her person. Must have saved up a lot of blood and tears for that, Gareth muttered. Not too many people treat supporters very well. You take good care of her, you hear me? Of course, Archer said with a smile. So what do you want me to do? Think you can copy them? Gareth asked, stroking his beard. If not, there's no problem, we can just purchase more, but having spares of these can mean life or death, and a fuller wallet. Archer nodded as he picked one of them up after getting the okay from Gareth and flipped them over in his hands. Magic swords. As he said, magic swords have a limit in how many times the spell embedded inside them can be used. Once that limit was reached, the sword would shatter, making them last resort weapons at best. After all, taking a weapon that was guaranteed to break into the dungeon where everything was trying to kill you was a terrible idea. Not to mention that the spell contained in the blade was also much weaker than the actual spell that could be cast through a mage and a chant. But if you could make them on the fly, trace on, Archer muttered as Gareth looked at him curiously. What was that? Gareth asked, only for Archer's body to start glowing, and he took a step back. Oh, judging the concept of creation. A disposable sword for use of the Loki Familia as they ventured into the lower floors. Hypothesizing the basic structure. It was shaped like a simple dagger with a colored blade to symbolize the fire magic held within. It wasn't very strong compared to the spell it was based on, but it was useful for what the Loki Familia had planned for them. Duplicating the composition material. A list of metals found on this world, and the dungeon filled his mind. Imitating the skill of its making. Sympathizing with the experience of its growth. Reproducing the accumulated years. Excelling every manufacturing process. Lightning arced around Archer's arms, and when they died down, a pair of magical swords looking identical to the ones on the table were in his hands. Seriously? Gareth asked as Archer shrugged with a wry smile on his face. This is the first time I tried it on these things, Archer said, holding them out to Gareth. So I don't know how useful they are. The firepower should be the same, but the durability's probably halved. No, that's more than enough, Gareth said as he took one and examined it. Let's see here. Some set up a target. Gareth shouted to the gaping audience, and several people quickly moved and brought over a wooden dummy that had several broken arrows embedded in it. Gareth swung the projected magic sword in his hand at the dummy, and a ball of fire came out of it properly and ignited the dummy without any problems. Well, I'm impressed, Gareth nodded. Strength's more or less the same, so that's perfect. Oh, I better mark them so we don't mix them up with the real ones. You know, you could make a lot of money selling these. If I did, they would be a scam, Archer said as he snapped his fingers theatrically, and the slightly used magic sword in Gareth's hand shattered into a million particles of light. Seeing as I can just destroy them just as easily as I can make them. Ha, yes, I suppose you would be scamming people if you sold them like that, Gareth nodded. I can do a few more though. How many do you think you'll need? To be perfectly honest, I'd like one for each member of my familia, but that's probably way too hard on you. So try making 10 for now. Archer did so without any problems, allowing Loki Familia to have 4 regular magic swords and 10 fake magic swords. Well, I'll be. Didn't think it'd be that simple. Gareth nodded as he marked the fake ones with colored tape. They should last for a while, Archer said as he rolled his shoulders to get out a kink that had formed while he was working. If they vanish, I can make them again before the expedition proper. Sounds good. But you aren't pushing yourself, right? Gareth asked worriedly. Don't want you getting a case of mine down. The old elf would yank my ear off. Speaking of Lady Riveria, Archer began. Is she fine with this? I heard that elves hated magic swords. She ain't the type to not use something just because she hates it if it could help the familia, Gareth answered, storing the magic swords away. She may have her pride, but she's also decided what's more important to her. I see. By the way, you think you can look at the Durandal weapons when the smith we ordered them from bring them over? I don't think I should be near someone who can replicate their days-long effort in a matter of seconds. They might want to kill me, or make me join their familia, Archer replied as Gareth let out a bark of laughter. I think Tsubaki would try to do both, Gareth said with a smile. But still, having you around will definitely make this expedition easier. I'm just worried about leaving my younger 2 familia members alone for that long, Archer admitted, and Gareth let out a laugh as he pounded Archer's back. That's just how it is, the dwarf said. Though you can't be babysitting youngsters forever. They'll never grow if you do. Besides, still got about 2 weeks before we actually set off. Get them to a level you're comfortable with so that you aren't as worried. I do not know if I will ever be comfortable not watching over them, Archer admitted. My first day in the dungeon with Bell ended with him nearly getting killed by a minotaur. Ah! Gareth let out a small noise and suddenly looked uncomfortable as Archer looked at him. Ah! You know, sorry about that, Gareth said with a chuckle. That may have been our fault. Gareth told Archer about how some of his more overeager Familia members scared off a herd of minotaurs on the way back from their previous expedition and sent them running to the upper floors, and they were forced to chase after them before any accidents happened. I see, Archer nodded. Well, no harm done aside from scaring the daylights out of Bell. I'll bet, Gareth sighed, still looking apologetic. But since you can beat a minotaur all by yourself at level 1, that means I don't have to worry as much about you during the expedition. I'll stay out of everyone's way as much as possible, Archer said. Is there anything else? Well, since you're here and done much earlier than expected, how about giving these a go? A few dozen spare blades, spears and axes, and a frying pan as a joke later. Archer left the Loki Familia home without any problems, even if he didn't actually get to see inside the building itself. Well, it was only natural that they wanted to protect their secrets, Archer muttered as he walked down the streets back home. So everything went all right? Archer asked at dinner time when Bell and Lily returned. Yes, for the most part, Lily admitted. Lily got jumped by an imp on the 10th floor, but the cut was shallow, Bell said. I'm sorry. We got split when the bats started screeching. Injuries are to be expected in the dungeon, Castor said simply. The two of you will only disappoint me should you fail to return home from the dungeon. Although he said that, both Bell and Lily's shoulders were slumped. He's right, Hestia said. The important thing is that both of you came home safely. So don't worry about it and eat up. I got a lot of leftover Jagamaracuns today, so eat your fill. The potato puffs were Hestia's favorite, so she always strived to take home any unsold products at her stall. Bell was never really picky, so he didn't mind eating them, and Lily also liked them because they were extremely cheap and filling at only 30 valis each. Even so, both of them remained rather depressed as they ate silently. What of Loki Familia? Castor asked Archer, changing the subject. The prep work is ongoing, Archer replied, but they're expected to head out in 2 weeks. I will be going back and forth during this time to help them prepare their equipment. Is this really worth it though? Hestia grumbled, still not happy that one of her children was helping out a goddess she didn't particularly liked. I'm acquiring blueprints for more weapons, Archer said as he held out his hand, and a spear appeared in his hand before being replaced by a pair of daggers and a massive axe. The Loki Familia Executive's weapons. Bell finally looked up when the spear appeared, and his eyes went from sad to shining in an instant as he gazed upon the weapons of Arario's top adventurers. I see. So your mental library increases each time you gaze upon a new weapon, Castor said, his face twisting into a scowl. Humph, well, I shall ignore it as it increases the Familia's power. Arde. Why yes, Lily replied, sitting up straight. If you are feeling useless, then join Cranel and Archer in the morning. I do not have time for your moping. Instead, make yourself useful and find ways to increase your growth. Yes. Lily apologizes, Lily said as she lowered her head before turning to Archer. Can Lily join Master Bell and Master Archer in the morning? I think we can squeeze you in, Archer nodded. We'll make it so that you can shoot Castor's hat right off his head without him realizing it. Lily would rather not, but Lily wouldn't mind the skill anyway, Lily said as Castor glared at Archer, who simply smirked at the king's direction. The next day went more or less the same as the first one, as Archer created more weapons for the Loki Familia while Gareth watched with a rather complex expression. You know, Gareth began as he examined a near-identical copy of his beloved axe. I'm starting to think we might be underpaying you, whatever it is. Well, the effort I'm putting into making these things is more or less non-existent, so the cost of labor shouldn't be all that much, Archer pointed out. You're going to make a lot of smiths cry with that attitude, Gareth pointed out as he gave the axe a few practice swings. Weight and handling's the same. Put them side by side and you probably can't tell the difference unless you're a high-level smith. I could probably just use your copies if I don't want to ruin my original axe again. That thing did look as though it's been through a lot, Archer noted as he looked back at the original sitting in the corner. Not as much as Tiona's Urga, but that idiot doesn't control her strength properly, so it makes those poor lads in Goibniu Familia cry all the time. Hey, who you calling an idiot? The two of them turned around to see Tiona, holding her hands on her waist, glaring at them with a small pout. The dumb Amazon that keeps breaking her 100+ million custom-made weapon, Gareth replied as Tiona stuck her tongue out at him. By the way, Archer, Tiona said, walking up to the man, can you add custom things to the weapons you make? It's theoretically possible, Archer began, but it would also depend on what you had in mind. How about making an unbreakable Urga? That I can't do. The things I make can be broken by me after all. I can't make something unbreakable because I always break the things that I create. Do you understand? Maybe. I see. Gareth nodded. So you already tried it on a Durandal weapon? Well, I suppose there are limits to everything. Or rather, if you didn't have limits on that thing, I'm sure either Hephaestos Familia or Goibiu Familia would have some choice words with ya. I'm doing my best to not step on anyone's toes, Archer said honestly. My goddess probably won't be able to handle the fallout. Besides, you'd probably get more out of your original than a hastily made copy. As he said it, he made another copy of Urga and tossed it over to the Amazon, who caught it with a twirl of her hand as if the massive blade was nothing more than a gymnast's baton. Yeah, but no one would get made if I broke a copy and I don't have to keep raking up my debt, she replied, sticking her tongue out as if she was trying to play cute. Well, you got a point there, I suppose. Oh right, Tiona suddenly said as she pounded her palm. You're only level 1, right? I know you were fast enough to avoid those new species, but can you hold yourself okay in a fight? Even we aren't bringing anyone below level 2 on the expedition. From the sound of things, he beat one of those minotaurs you idiots chased up to the upper floors a few weeks back, Gareth said as Tiona let out a sound to show that she remembered. Seems like Ace saw it happen too, but didn't really remember it until I asked. Ah, so she was the one I felt nearby back then, Archer muttered. Well, I was more concerned about getting Bell out safely, so I didn't bother looking. You? Sorry about that, Tiona muttered, looking actually apologetic. Well, if you can fight minotaurs one-on-one, then you'll probably be as fine as Lafia. A level 1 that can fight on the level of at least level 3, Gareth muttered. You live long enough, you see the damnedest things. I can show you the Falna if you think we're lying, Archer offered, but Gareth shook his head. Don't go showing off things like that so easily, he replied. I don't think you're lying. You wouldn't survive in this city long if you were. But the Falna's as important as your life. Archer nodded as the fake Urga vanished, almost causing Tiona to fall over as she was leaning on it. Hey! The Amazon shouted indignantly as she caught her balance. Come to think of it, since you can make whatever you want to fight with, is there anything you consider your favorite? Gareth asked. Duh, it's in his name, Tiona said with a smile. He's Archer, so he probably uses a bow, right? Labeling someone like that is rude, Archer said, crossing his arms. In my case it happens to be true, but still. I also prefer using 2 short swords in close range as well. A bowman, huh? Gareth muttered as he looked around and saw a target someone hadn't cleaned up after using on the other side of the yard. Think you can hit that from here? Archer glanced at the target and brought up his left hand, allowing a black bow to appear as he took aim at the target. Luckily, there wasn't anyone else out in the yard at this time, so there was no worry about someone randomly walking in the way. Well, even if someone did, there was no way Archer wouldn't see them first. After pulling back on the empty string for a moment, a simple arrow appeared in his hand and he knocked it on the string. Then, in a smooth motion, the arrow whistled through the air and struck the target. Oh, Tiona said as she clapped her hands. Bullseye. I see, Gareth nodded. Around Riviera's level when she decides to pick up her bow. I always considered bows to be useless as a main weapon in the dungeon for several reasons. First off, being arrows don't do squat to the higher level monsters unless they're made of stronger material, and no one wants to use rare material in potentially one-shot projectiles. And the second is that once you're out of arrows, you better be able to pick up sword to keep helping out, otherwise you're dead weight. Not that bows don't have their place as distraction weapons, of course. He then glanced at Archer's bow. Though if you can just make up your arrows on the fly, then there won't be any problems with you using a bow at least. Hey Gareth, Tiona began. If we have Archer with us, do we even need the Hephaestos high smiths anymore? I mean, if something breaks, he can just magic up a new one, right? And if Archer bites it, we lose all our weapons, Gareth pointed out. Not having a single point of failure is important in the dungeon, especially when we're going that deep. Ah, good point. Archer is also standing right here and doesn't appreciate his death being speculated about, Archer said with a wry smile as Gareth chuckled and thumped his back with a powerful hand. Don't worry, Gareth said. Stick close to one of us and you'll be fine. I guess, by the way. Archer turned to the stack of various weapons on the table. Do you plan to keep the unbroken fakes for as long as possible even after the expedition? If you don't mind, Gareth said with another laugh. Like you said, the cost of labor isn't much, right? Well, I suppose I don't lose anything either way, Archer said with a shrug. But do remember that those fakes could disappear when you least expect it once the expedition is over. Not because they would degrade over time or anything, but because Archer could break them whenever he wished. They weren't true permanent items after all. Hey Archer, Tiona began. Wanna try sparring? Tiona's suggestion was so out of the blue that even Gareth looked surprised. Sparring with a level 5? Archer asked. I'm not so suicidal as to attempt that. Come on, I know how to hold back. If you can take on a Minotaur on your own while protecting your familia member, then you should at least be around level 4 in skill. It won't be that big of a difference. And that could particularly be a bad thing. And if I end up fighting near your level, won't end with you holding back less and then end up breaking a few of my bones? He's got you there? Gareth nodded as Tiona puffed up her cheeks in a pout. Stop being so mean, Tiona said as she went to the back of the tent and started rummaging around a barrel. Let's see. I know there are a few wooden swords around here somewhere. Archer simply sighed as he rubbed his forehead with his right hand. Holding his left hand out, he conjured up the image of Urga while altering its base material. Tiona. Tiona turned around just as the altered Urga sword toward her. Oh, it's a wooden Urga, Tiona said happily as she caught it and spun it a few times in her hand. The weight's about the same too. Really now? Gareth said as he rubbed his eye. Your magic is really something. You aren't overdoing it, right? There's no need to humor this idiot Amazon's whims. Well, I'll consider it a plus for me too, Archer answered the dwarf as 2 wooden short swords appeared in his hands. If I can last against Tiona for a while, then I can survive against the monsters on the deep floors long enough for one of you to rescue me. Fair enough, Gareth admitted. But we're setting some ground rules. Not first to lose weapons, I hope? Archer said as he dropped one of the blades and formed another one in his hand before the blade hit the ground. 'Cause that's part of strategy. The more and more I talk with you, the more I realize just how versatile that magic of yours is, Gareth said with a chuckle. Fine. Go until I say stop or one of you falls flat on the ground. Okay. Tiona nodded as she walked out onto the open yard with Archer waiting across from her. Ready. Whenever you are, Archer said, feeling as though he was going to regret this. While he didn't think he was going to lose outright, he had no idea what a level 5 was capable of after all. Well, they should have plenty of healing potions either way. Then go, Tiona shouted as she immediately closed the distance between them with a single step, causing Archer's eyes to open wide. He quickly brought up his blades to catch the fake Urga mid-swing. The power behind the blow caused his knees to buckle, and it was all he could do to keep it from crushing him. Oh, not bad. Are you trying to kill me, you crazy Amazon? Archer shouted as he reinforced his arms and pushed her off of him. Come on. That was just a greeting. Level 5. It definitely wasn't something to take lightly. They could probably match lower-level servants at the very least. Or at least through Tiona's brute strength was a match. You sure you're only level 5? Archer asked. Only he says. Gareth muttered as he shook his head while Tiona simply laughed. I feel like I'm only a few days away from level 6, Tiona admitted. That's why you should try going all out, Archer. Well, I won't be able to do that, Archer said before he disappeared from where he stood. Oh, Tiona let out a small gasp before raising her fake Urga above her head, catching Archer as he slashed downward from the sky above her. You're pretty fast. Then with a swing of her arms, she flung Archer off of her, allowing him to land back down on the grass. It looks as though there wasn't a way for him to overcome her brute strength if he struck head-on, and her speed wasn't anything to scoff at either. Frankly, the optimal thing for him to do was to retreat and use his bow, but this was a spar, so there was no need to go that far. In the second he used to try and plan his next attack, Tiona charged him again, and he had no choice but to meet her whirlwind of steel head-on. Honestly, Tiona was one of his worst type of opponents. An opponent who knew his tricks and gimmicks while he was in a situation where he couldn't back off and snipe from range, and in a one-to-one contest of strength she trumped him. Not to mention that even though their weapons were made of the same material, her powerful swings were close to shattering the swords in his hand. But still, Archer was keeping up. Each blow was being parried even if he couldn't find an opening in her cheerful strikes. If he couldn't find one, then he'd have to make one. Seeing a swing coming from below, Archer jumped back and blocked it, allowing the force to send him flying up into the air. He then threw his blades at Tiona, allowing them to sin and curve like boomerangs toward her. Oh! With a powerful swing, the 2 blades break and splinter against the might-fake Urga. With that, Archer's body landed on the ground and shot forward toward Tiona like a bullet with 2 new wooden blades. Okay, stop. Both Archer and Tiona froze in mid-motion at Gareth's call. Let's stop here before Tiona smashes the yard, Gareth said as Tiona had been halfway through the motion of slamming her blade into the dirt to kick up rocks to shield her from Archer's attack. But it was just getting fun, Tiona said as her weapon vanished along with Archer's. Well, at the very least we probably don't have to worry about Archer in the deep floors, Gareth muttered as he stroked his beard. I think I got an idea why you're only a level 1 despite your magic. Really? Archer asked. Your usual weapons are probably some expensive and high-quality blades, right? Gareth asked. If a level 1 uses a weapon like that, their stats won't go up at all. And since you make them as easily as breathing, it's only natural your stats won't go up except for magic. Ah, I get it. Tiona nodded. Level 1s usually only start off with basic iron weapons and armor after all. If Archer can make adamantite weapons like Urga and use them, then his status won't go up at all. I see. That makes sense. Archer nodded. Let me guess. You got your magic after contracting with your goddess, and the first thing you did was go to one of Hephaestos Familia's high-rank shops and looked through the windows, didn't you? Gareth asked with a smirk, and Archer decided to play along. You got me? Archer said with a wry smile and shrug. I mean, wouldn't you? I didn't even need to get the overpriced guild dagger. Guild-issued equipment, huh? Gareth muttered with a rather faraway look. That was a very long time ago. Don't get nostalgic on us now, old man, Tiona said with a laugh. I can't imagine a level 6 as a beginner adventurer, Archer admitted honestly. I didn't sprout up from the ground a full-grown level 6 dwarf, Gareth said with huff. I was a snot-nosed brat just like the both of you before. You should have seen how poorly Finn, Riveria and I got along back when Loki was just starting out. That snobby princess could barely work with us. I can't imagine Lady Riveria being snobby, Tiona said as she glanced to the side. Well, that was almost 30 years ago, Gareth said as he waved his hand. Way before your time. Great, now you got me acting even more like an old man. I'm sure you got plenty of decades left in you, Gareth, Archer said with a smile. By the way, I wanted to ask earlier, but it's rather quiet today, isn't it? Yeah, Gareth nodded. Finn went to renegotiate the terms with Hephaestos Familia since with you around we don't need as many of their highsmiths now. The others are running around doing quests or just diving into the dungeon for magic stones. I see, Archer nodded. Right, aside from weapons, they still need things like food and potions for their expedition. And that would cost a lot of money. I stayed behind because being alone with Gareth wouldn't be fun for anyone. Right? Tiona asked as Gareth glared at her. Not at all, he's great company, Archer said with a smile. Ah, stop trying to suck up, Tiona accused, to which Archer simply held his hands up in surrender. Wonder if those two are doing okay, Archer muttered as he looked in the direction of Babel Tower. Lily has barely left Soma Familia for 1 week and she still gets caught in trouble because of them. We're sorry. Stop screaming and run. Bell was running in the back of the pack of 4 as he was being chased by a mass spawn of killer ants. He and Lily had been making their way through the dungeon as normal when the two of them heard 2 screams followed by a stampede of monsters chasing after a white-haired Hume bunny and a black-haired Renard dressed in Far Eastern clothing with Soma Familia's emblem. And to top it off, it's a pass parade. Lily screamed at the other two. It wasn't our fault, the Hume bunny countered. We're the ones that got pass paraded first. Some idiot adventurer must have failed to kill them properly and they called for the stampede, the Renard added. Lily, we're just going to drag other people into this if we keep running this way, Bell called out. We have to stop them here. How? Lily shrieked. Master Bell only has a single dagger and Lily's crossbow, and dagger can't do anything against this many monsters. Anon, Master Archer, where are you? If we can find a spot where you all can protect me, then I can probably use a spell to wipe them out, the Renard claimed. Spell? Lily repeated. Lily doesn't remember any mages. If you're newbies, you shouldn't be down this far in only a week. We came from outside of Ororio, the Hume bunny explained. We're not newbies who only got their Falna yesterday. Gah, let's just try it, Bell said impatiently as Lily seemed too wrapped up in her dislike for Soma Familia to plan properly. Turn left there. They made a turn into a narrower corridor, allowing less space for the monsters to swarm them. Firebolt. The red sparks shot out from his hand and burned the closest ants to ashes. With that breathing room, Lily took up position in front of the Renard, who began chanting as a magic circle appeared below her feet. This left Bell and the Hume bunny as the vanguard, who drew out a katana as they faced the incoming horde. Master Bell, Lily called out as she tossed Bell the combat dagger that Archer gave her, to which he caught without turning his eyes away from the killer ants. We just need to buy a few minutes, the Hume bunny said as she and Bell charged into the fray. In a whirlwind of steel, the two carved their way into the mass of ants. Even though they could only run for their lives earlier, with the hope of victory behind them, they managed to find some courage to face the oncoming swarm. Bell didn't know when he decided to do so, but simply holding the second dagger in his offhand gave him no small amount of comfort. Was he simply imitating his hero? Perhaps, but even so, he felt it drove him one step closer to that back standing in front of him. Decapitating the killer ants was not enough. Their heads needed to be crushed completely in order for them to not spread out their pheromones, or destroy their magic stone to destroy their body completely. Finally, after around 5 minutes of non-stop cutting, stabbing, and firebolting, it's done, Lily called out as both the Hume bunny and Bell backed off from the entrance at the same time. No sooner did Bell get out of the way did a surge of arcane energy rush past him. A beam of white light enveloped the corridor, vaporizing the rest of killer ants, as well as a good portion of their magic stones. Ha! Lily is alive. Lily sighed as she sat down on the floor. We're sorry for getting you involved. The Hume Bunny apologized again. I'm Tsukino Kami-Kid and my friend is Shinano Momiji. As you might have guessed, we came to Orario from the Far East and joined the Soma Familia. Kid the Hume Bunny and Momiji the Renard. Hume Bunnies were a demi-human race with long rabbit ears. Kid's were white like her hair but a shade darker than Belle's own white hair and had yellow eyes. She was wearing a short and that hung loosely over her uncovered right side, and had her chest wrapped up in bandages to which Belle believed was called a serrasure in the Far East. Nice to meet you both, Belle said as Lily huffed and turned her head away. I'm Bell Cranel and that's Lilaruka Arde. We're from the Hestia Familia. Oh, you're that Arde? Momiji asked as she looked at Lily. The one who didn't lose to the Soma wine? Lord Soma has a lot of praise for you, Kid added with a smile. Lily is thankful for Lord Soma's words, but Lily doesn't care, Lily said softly. Lily has nothing to do with the Soma Familia anymore. Momiji and Kid shared a glance as if unsure what to say. So why did you join Soma Familia in the first place? Belle asked. The two of you didn't seem like the type to go after the wine. There's no real reason, Kid shrugged. We went to a recruitment drive and after getting into the city and joined up. It seems like they kicked out a bunch of their previous members that didn't like the changes Lord Soma was implementing and needed new members, so we joined up. Changes? Like the real Soma wine isn't to be drunk willy-nilly anymore. It's only broken out or celebrations and parties like birthdays or a level up. Outside of that, level 2s and up will get a small bottle a month. The Hume Bunny held her hands out vertically about 15 centimeters apart. It definitely wasn't an amount that one could drink their fill and was probably meant as a way for the god to limit the consumption and prevent any more mishaps like what happened to Lily. Belle turned toward Lily, who was staring at them in shock. They're not letting whoever gets the most money get a drink anymore? Lily asked. Was that what it was like? Momiji asked, looking rather surprised as her black ear shot up. That sounds like it must have been awful. Oh, but the failed Soma is still free for anyone to drink whenever, Kid added. It's really good. I always love drinking a cup of that after a bath. Soma seemed to have turned things around tremendously since Lily left. No doubt the god finally decided to take running his familia seriously after he got an idea of how much someone like Lily had suffered yet still triumphed over his wine. Lily remained silent for a while before she stood back up and looked at the mass of magic stones. Let's just divide up the stones, Lily said, pointing to them. Ah, right. Momiji nodded. Is 50/50ths okay? I'm pretty sure you took out most of them, Belle pointed out. Yeah, but we dragged you into this, Kid said with a wry smile. So let's just call it even with this. Lily and Master Bell will take your generosity then, Lily said quickly to cut off anything else Belle might say. With that out of the way, the four of them picked up their share of the loot and went their separate ways. They seemed nice, Belle said as the two of them decided to return to the surface, while the Soma girls wanted to go spend a bit more time on the floor first before heading back up. They didn't seem to be lying about Lord Soma, Lily admitted as they climbed up the steps to the 6th floor while passing another party headed down to the 7th. But all of that has nothing to do with Lily anymore. Lily is part of Hestia Familia just like Master Bell, Master Archer and Lord Castor. Lily gave Belle a bright toothy smile as she hurried down the corridor before Bell let out a smile of his own and ran after her.